Hey everyone, hello. It is I, Trooper SJP, and this is the Academic Foxhole. What are you all doing? What's going on? And also, there, good. Things are looking the way I want them to look at this moment. I hope you're all doing well. It is Thursday. I have my phone ringer on, which is not good. There. Hey everyone. Hey Origami Shuriken. Oh, hey Pope World, thank you. So, I'm Trooper SJP. This is the Academic Foxhole. It's Thursday, so we are playing Wandersong, which is one of the nominees for Excellence in Narrative from the Independent Game Festivals Awards for 2019. And I realize it is September in 2020, but you know how it is. You know how it is. This game probably takes 10 hours, and we're probably currently on our 20th 3-hour session playing it. You know, this is how our life is. This is how our life is. Also, I wanted to let you know that we have a giveaway for today. It's the indie action co-op game God's Trigger, and that's our giveaway, which we'll do somewhere around the halftime mark. But there's something else going on that's really important, and people in the chat are already doing it, and so I want to let you know about it, and that is, right now we're doing a community challenge. And that is on Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern, which is tomorrow actually. I run a RPG. Some people might call that a tabletop RPG, but I just call it an RPG called City of Light and Shadow, which is a French resistance campaign using fate. And our heroes, well, our protagonists, there's a bit of a shortage of radios in Paris, so the Paris area. And they need more, but radios are really hard to come by. That's a big ask. And so you all representing London can give your extra credit points. Hey Prax and Origami Shuriken, Pope. You can support the resistance and help them get their radios by donating your extra credit points, which are totally free, and then you just get them for being here and be part of the community. And I believe our goal is 150,000 extra credit, and let's see, where I don't even know. Get started. We're at 59%. 59% to our goal of 150,000 points. Also, there is a time limit. We need to hit that number before episode 4. So tomorrow's episode 3, which is a solo episode with our good old Tango, and episode 4 is the week after. In episode 4 we have 2 special guests coming in. Special guests. I think once I get some stuff from Iffy, I can probably spoil it in a flashy way. And ooh, Beetle wins. Thank you, Beetle wins. And also, your turn, my turn, thank you. Ooh, that's exciting. So 60%, everybody, that is 3 radios. They want 5, but we're at 3. So this is really exciting. We donate yes, you could donate. I can only donate 2K for some reason. Huh, well, I don't know why that is. That's weird. Oh, that's the per stream maximum. Is it really? Why is there that doesn't make any sense, right? Because Embar Garwin just donated 4,000. So I don't know. I don't know what that means. Why? I think that's mysterious. Beetle ones, you should try again to see if you can. Anyhow, that's the big goal. There's a... Oh, I get it. 2K at a time. Thank you. I get it. Next stream you could donate. Wait. Oh, I see. Right. Oh, I get it. 2K each stream. Oh, okay. You have just all educated me. This is a good thing to know. Thank you, everyone. Wait, You don't even know how the thing... Well, I didn't know there was a limit. It didn't say that there was a limit. And I was like, oh, they're just like, do the thing. And I was like, cool. And I did math and all that, but they didn't tell me about the 2K limit. Now I'm mysterioused by this. So we're at 60% and we have until... we have 8 more days. No, it wasn't at all. It was not intentional to make you tune in more often. I just knew that a lot of people had a lot of excess community points, and I was like, oh, this'll make sense. You surely had to know you had a limit, otherwise me and Rissa would have bought the radios ourselves. Okay, so Krellin, what I thought was that you were like holding back because you were wanting to like let other people also throw points in. I just thought you were like, you know, holding back all like strategically. I didn't realize there was a limit. I didn't realize it. I just thought you were like, oh, I thought you were playing it cool. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, I'm playing it cool. So many, and I never catch the fate points in time. But that was one of the reasons why you have the community goal, because then like you can add to the community goal. So like there's like now 2 options. What happens after the radios? I have no idea. The reason why I have no idea what will happen after the radios is because I have no idea what our players are going to do, what kind of shenanigans they're going to get up to, what kind of things they're going to need, what kind of problems. You know what I mean? Like I have some questions about things that are available. I wonder if I can change the what do you call it? We're at 93. We're doing really well. I wonder if I can change that. Probably not, but maybe I'll have to check that out. If can I change the max? I wonder if I can. Send bombing runs. It's an interesting question. The problem is it's still 1941. Do you know what I mean? It's still 1941. Yeah, actually, Rissa's probably near 100K because I bought all the fate points last week. What did I want to? That's true. That's like 20K, right? To buy all 4 fate points. So, you know, so what I'm going to tell you. You know, we have a Discord. You know that we have a Discord. I'm going to tell you all something. So we have a Discord. Hi, everybody. Ooh, that was not the button I wanted. What are you doing? No. There we go. This, by the way, side note, I know that you all will judge me for it. Like, I understand that you're going to judge me, but I do, what do you call it? Day mode, not night mode. And Twitch just automatically pops you into night mode. And when you resub, and I don't like that. That makes me sad. Hey, Chromatic. Okay, look, so I wanted to tell you something. Yes, now I remember what I want to tell you. So we have a Discord, right? So if you want to do so, you can hang out in our Discord. It's right over here. Discord. And oh, thank you, Jer. You are on top of things. So we have this Discord, right? And in the Discord, we have a channel to discuss the City of Light and Shadow, the RPG that I GM on Fridays. And the other day, Dot popped in the Discord, and we had this super long conversation psychoanalyzing her character Regina and like the sort of like her circumstances. If you want to read it, you certainly are welcome to. It's very interesting. And Trooper, twitching in well-lighted areas is good for your eyes and not allowed. I suppose that's I suppose that's true. Yeah, because like I like reading black text on a white background. It's a little easier. Oh, it was a very Origami Shuriken. It was a very deep and intense conversation. It really was, and it was really interesting. And the thing is, none of my cast is here right now, right? Good. So the thing is that remember we were talking about blinders the other day? Do you know what I mean? We were talking about blinders and bleed. And the thing is that Dot is like, oh, you know, Regina's lost her humanity, and I was like, she has not though. And like I think sometimes Dot's like, oh, she's lost it, and like she maybe because it's like Regina's in a bad space. Regina thinks that she has lost her humanity, no doubt, for real. And it's easy to sort of like think about that. And am I going to do a D&D campaign? We could talk about that. There are some droppers in that conversation. The thing is, it's not true that Regina has lost all her humanity. It's just not. I know that it might seem that way if you're like inside of Regina's mind, but as a person watching Regina, she clearly hasn't. She hasn't, and that's really interesting to me. But if she's worried she's lost her humanity, she probably still has some. Yes, Origami Shuriken, yes. Look, killing your Nazi father does not make you a monster. And the thing is, I know that that's like this like awful, terrible thing that's like really traumatic, right? To sort of be in that moment. If Regina lost her humanity, she wouldn't still be trying to shield her friends and others. Yes. Takara says, no, but it makes you a patricide. That is also true. Right. The thing, and this is the thing, I think it's really easy to sort of, sometimes I think we can get in we're talking about like player blinders, right? The thing is, from the outside, and I'm saying this as a GM, and I don't know if you were seeing it as an audience member, she's set up in Vampire, but like as a person viewing her, she so clearly still has her humanity in so many interesting ways, like not just little ways, but like a lot. She's also clearly shutting herself down, or like attempting to shut herself down because it's easier that way. But as a person who's seeing it from the outside, I can give you multiple instances where her humanity and her empathy bubbles out. Do you know what I mean? Like, she is hardcore. Regina is a hardcore character for sure. But Regina's growing a relationship with a good doctor, and clearly that relationship gives Regina anxiety because Regina doesn't necessarily want to feel things, but I think she is anyway. And you know it because she's like, well, I think that like you could tell that she was worried about the fact that the Nazis came in and took a census of all of the Jews in the city, which they did, by the way. That's what happened that day in June. Which and your turn, my turn says that is a totally normal response to trauma. It is, and like clearly Regina's in trauma, but she's still feeling. And that conversation with Tango, where she admitted that she's feeling guilt, boom, right there. But not only just that, also she has given, when she watched the people get executed from the rooftops when she didn't have to, the ways in which she has taken to, in a kind of her own Regina kind of a way, mentoring Luke, the ways in which she protects the group. There are all these things that she has done that shows that she still retains her humanity. And I, so for example, right? I was saying this in that conversation. I was saying it in this conversation on Discord, but I will tell you as well. Carolyn's like, she also keeps punishing herself. She does. And she also takes more responsibility for things than she necessarily should. Takadosh says, as a former professional monster, if you are still worrying about your humanity, you still have it. It's when you stop caring when the fun begins. Yeah. Pope's like, I worry about Luke. Pope, you should worry about Luke. You should worry about Luke quite a lot. You should. That is a smart thought, Pope. You should worry about Luke. You should. Oh, you should have concern. Your worry is not misplaced. Pope, it is not. And I was just thinking, so I was saying this is like I'm just saying there should be worries about Luke. Also, you should worry about me, not me personally, but I cannot find my City of Light and Shadow notes. I have multiple notes that I use, and I have reprinted the things that were all printed, but I had some handwritten notes, and I found some of my handwritten notes, but I have I had a list of names that I just like sort of taken notes on, of like, various like random NPCs, not like central NPCs, but sort of side NPCs. And that piece of paper is not, I cannot find it right now. So I have to go and like reorganize stuff, which is terrible. Being infatuated with a murderous lesbian rarely ends well. That is true. It rarely does. It rarely does. So this is the thing I wanted to tell you. It's a thing that I can tell you some things, but not all the things. But I'll just, like, as an example, this is it's a thing about the way that I run character-focused sandboxes. And even if you lose your humanity, you can still regain it later. Also true. Or something with a semblance of humanity. I hope my notes reappear soon. You have post-it notes to myself stuck in my monitor. The thing is, I printed out a list of male and female French names. So I had like a whole list of like a bunch of male and female French names. I can't remember where I got that list, but I got it and I printed it out. And so I had it. It was one of the things that I had on. It's one of the things that is actually hard for me to replace. The other things I can just reprint, it's no problem. But I had this list of French male and female names that I had on my desk. And whenever I came up with a new NPC that I hadn't already pre-named, I would just like jot it down. And that piece of paper I cannot, like all the other ones I can reprint. That one has notes on it that I cannot find. And what I'm gonna have to do is just actually go through all the past streams and sort of just note the ones that I wrote down. Ooh, you know what I mean? Like that's because some of the names that some of the names that were important I actually put in my little notebook, but the names that were not central enough to write down in my notebook. Like for example, I gave a name to the janitor woman, the cleaning woman who helped Sylvie get into Drancy. Her name, the name that I gave her, is written down on that piece of paper and like checked off. And like there's some like rando people that I don't actually need to know their names again because they were like one-off folks. But the thing is, you never know if these people are going to come back, right? Like that's the thing. You never know if these people are going to come back. And like I was like, oh, there's that's some continuity that I'm gonna have to sort of work out. Everyone is Jean. Yes. But I'm gonna just have to do a bunch of rewatching, which I'm gonna have to do anyway if I'm gonna do some World Anvil stuff. But look, let me tell you something about some of my design process for a character-driven sandbox, and then we'll play some Wandersong. Brigitte, I think I might have given her that name now. I gave her the name now. That was the name that I gave her in that moment, but I was like, I think she had a different name. That was the thing. Like, Brigitte is her name now. That's her name. But I believe that she had a different name in season 1. But it's okay. She'll just be a slightly different person, and it'll be fine. This urchin is important. They'll never see me again. Players, remember that urchin? Let's go find him. You're like, Krellin, that's how it is. And you're like, dang it. But that's okay. I'm going to recreate all those names, and it will be fine. So when I do, and I just thought you might be interested in this, right? I will often it takes a little while. So when I do a sandbox game, especially a character-driven, so rewind. GNS theory, gamist, narrativist, simulationist. The simulationist one is the style that's not as talked about as much anymore at the moment because it's sort of a little bit out of fashion. I don't know why, although it's still here. But in this theory, there's simulationism is not the same thing as realism. It's that you're trying to simulationism is exploration of something, and what it is you're exploring is going to sort of depend. There was one NPC in Lost Mine of Van Delver whom I never called by the correct name. I always called him by the same name, but it was not his actual name. That's amazing. That is amazing. And so the thing is about the simulation is that there are different types of simulationism. And the one that people tend to think of as world simulation is when you're trying to simulate a world. Like you sort of create this big, huge world, and then you see how it develops. But there's also character simulation, which is like where my heart is where I'm really interested in exploring character and seeing how they develop over time and space, like what happens to characters. But you can also do other kinds of simulation, like they're just like a bunch of different styles. But let me see if I can find it just at the moment, because it might be interesting.
Come on to my house.
Come on in my house, come on. Come on in my house, come on. Come on in my house, I'm gonna give you candy. Come on in my house, I'm gonna give you everything. Who was that? Thank you for the host, Goblin Katie. Goblin Katie is my secret wife. People don't know that. We're not technically married yet because Gen Con was canceled, so that was terrible. But so we couldn't actually have the wedding ceremony. But I mean, we're going to. I mean, it's gonna happen. You didn't know it was a secret? Like, hello! Maybe it's not exactly a secret. Maybe it's... the Steve Jackson Games RPG tune is arguably a simulation of being a cartoon. Yes, that is accurate, right? So sometimes people sort of confuse... they confuse simulationism with only being realism, but that's not actually the case. Right, that's not the case. You can do other things. It is the worst kept. It's the worst kept secret. So I'm gonna come because I want to explain to you how I do my character-driven simulationisms, but you have to have to know what I'm talking about. So Ron Edwards says that when you engage in role-playing, you rely on imagination and the elements, right? These sort of elements of the imagination of the game itself is our character, right? A fictional person or entity, system, a means by which in-game events are determined to occur, setting, where the character is in the broadest sense, including history as well as location, situation, a problem or circumstance faced by the character, color, any details or nuances, right, that provide atmosphere, right? And so these are the things that are sort of like these elements. So for him, simulationism is about exploring one of these elements, right? So what simulation focuses in on is exploration without necessarily an end goal or a set idea or an emphasis on winning or losing or meta or fairness or meta consequences, right? I'm still looking forward to the 80s pop star cosplay wedding, though. I've got my costume. By the way, I brought my 80s pop star costume with me to Ithaca when I moved, in case at any moment I needed it to get married to Goblin Katie. I just want you to know, my prince outfit is waiting. It is waiting. I did not leave it I did not put it in storage. I kept that wedding ensemble with me in case we need it, because I'm saying at any moment there might be a wedding. Like, I don't know. What if you're like, right now we have to go get wed in a prince outfit and a Madonna outfit? I mean, I'm just saying these things are at any moment it could happen. Any moment COVID gets lifted, Gen Con happens, next week we're there, married, boom. Oh, see, I'm ready. So when you think about it says players, right, simulation heightens and focuses exploration as the priority. The players may be greatly concerned with the internal logic and experiential consistency of that exploration. And I think the idea of the internal logic and experiential consistency is Cyndi Lauper. Origami Shuriken, yes. If you could be Cyndi Lauper, I would be so excited for that. Oh my gosh, that would be so good. That would be so good. I just want all of the 80s happening all of the time. This is important to me. So when we talk about simulationist, right? They say that simulationist premises are generally kept to the minimal role of the personal aesthetic, right? The effort during placement on the exploration, that's like the goal. So there's a variety of simulationist play depending on what you're exploring, right? So people tend to think of situation as what people are doing, but I think that's not always fair. So for example, situation, well-defined character roles and tasks up to including meta plot driven play, a possible development. Oh, this is about the vampire. What does the vampire world look like? But I am really, when I run my simulationist style games, I focus on character, right? So, which they say would be a highly internalized character experiential play. So this tends to be where what I'm doing as a simulationist. Thanks, Prax. What I do as a simulationist GM is that when I get to do my style. Again, if it's a different style, I do a different thing. I always try to bring a little bit into it, but like it's my preferred. And so I'm really personally very interested in this sort of highly internalized character experiential play and crafting an environment wherein that can be explored. That tends to be my Skymanak. That tends to be my emphasis, right? My priority is really, really deep character exploration, and that's my home base. And I tend to make, when I get to GM in my way or play in my way, I tend to sort of craft what I'm doing when I'm crafting my game as a GM is creating a space wherein that exploration can happen. And this does mean that sometimes the games look a little bit different than you might imagine in a different way. So for example, I'm more interested in who the character is than some kind of grand plot. When there are, first off, I don't actually have grand plots. My NPCs have plots. But the reason why my NPCs have plots is because I'm interested in exploring my NPCs, who they are, right? So what I do is, this is my point. I'm trying to tell you a thing about how I design things. So now, to really do what I want well, it takes time to develop, which is one of the reasons why, for me, I can't really do a really good sandbox in like 5 sessions. I really need extra time, and I will tell you, this second season of City of Light and Shadow is going to be better for character exploration than the first season, because in the first season everyone's getting to know their characters and I'm getting to know what the questions for those characters are. So this is what I do. So if you want to think about, and I was thinking about this and I was talking about it in the Discord, so one of the things that I do is I develop questions. This is part of how I GM a character-driven sandbox. I come up with questions that will get to these larger character-driven themes. So Regina is a great example. Regina, and most of the questions that I come up with are things that are given to me by the players in their own way. What I like to do is very difficult to do if you don't have players who do it, right? If you don't have players who do the work, who are not into it, it's really hard for me as a GM to do it. I have to, it's more work for me as a GM to do character exploration if the players are not working with me. The Sandbox season special numbers feel like 12 to 15 episodes. Yeah. Yes, right? Like you, and then like do a second round. Like 6 is way too, not for a character driven. Like you could probably do like maybe a shorter one. Like I think I could probably do a good 10 if it's just world exploration. It would still be a little bit too tight for me, but like if you're doing character exploration, I really just need like 12 to 15 episodes, you know what I mean? And one of the whole reasons why I do these solo episodes is because it's a space for really intense character exploration. And so what ends up happening as a GM, the players will give you information about who their characters are, what kind of tensions there are, who they think their characters are, if they're already inclined for that kind of play. And if they're inclined for that kind of play, it's much easier for me as a GM to be like, okay, this is where I start. But if they don't, then what my job is as a GM is to start poking to find out where the hooks are for where the tensions are for who their characters are, right? So like I have to figure out, so if I want to do character exploration, we've got to figure out who the characters are. And sometimes players don't know who their characters are yet, or they're working it out, but I need to find out where the contradictions are, where the hooks are, where the tensions are, where that exploration is going to be the richest, right? Where it's going to be really, really rich. So to back up, before I started the game, I already had some questions that I knew I wanted to explore for character exploration. Before the game started, before season 1, episode 1 started, I had things on my mind that I thought to myself are going to be probable themes to begin with. And when I say themes, I really mean things that characters will grapple with. And that one of the central questions is about the toll that war and violence takes on a person, right? It's about I wanted to think about, because I was doing a lot of readings of memoirs, right? And readings about like the emotional toll it takes on you to be a member of a resistance, when you're always hiding who you are, when at any moment they could come and capture you. The question, can I withstand torture? Will I be a person who can do that or not? Right. So there are all these questions that you have to sort of grapple with, that the people in real life grappled with. They grappled with questions like, civilians die because of what we're doing. Is it worth it? They grapple with questions like there are all these questions that the Bildungsroman, and there are all these questions that they grappled with, right, historically. So I thought, okay, these are some good opening questions, right? Thinking about the cost of violence, the emotional toll, right? So those are like my initial questions that I had thought. And I was like, okay, let me see, what can I do that will help sort of bring this out? I know that the Nazis had like a hostage policy. I'm going to make sure that comes in to see how they react to that. If they feel like, how do they respond to that situation? I also wanted to thematize, and this is also as important for like my initial thoughts about the campaign, regular people standing up to oppressive forces, right? And thinking about what does it mean for that regular person who's not a superhero, right, to do this? What does it mean for them? What motivates people? What motivates a person to step up? What keeps them motivated, right? So like really sort of like, these are some of the themes that I was thinking about before we started, before I knew who the characters were. And then as they started as a group, and they wanted to sort of deal with sort of rescuing Art, I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. So let me think. What are interesting sort of character exploration themes that you can get out of this? And part of me is like, okay, Art over people, that seems like an interesting tension that you could see, that you can use to explore people. If you have a choice between saving Art and saving people, which one do you choose? That seems like an interesting question to see who these characters are. Also, another question that I was thinking about was, this was a conundrum in World War II itself, and that conundrum was, like there were these moments where like bad guys would be holed up in ancient castles, like in Italy or in Florence, like all these like really important historical places, and the Allies had to ask themselves the question, do they bomb those places or not, right? Like, do they damage these things that are, you know, these historically important sites to get the villains, right? So that was like an interesting question. I was like, okay, that'll be one that I think will be interesting, will be an interesting problem to send at them to see who they are, who their characters are. So like I start with these initial questions, and I sort of come up with, yes, you bomb the place. Castles are just relics of old rich people anyway, right? But this is the question. Like, I want to know, like, if they're dedicated to saving this art, and I put them in a dilemma, do they bomb it or do they not? And I want it. And the thing is, I don't know the answer to these questions, right? I do not give questions that I know the answer to necessarily. I give questions that I think will prompt a character exploration. Woo! Barantor! The name game. Come on, everybody. I said, now let's play a game. I bet you I can make a rhyme out of anybody's name. The first letter of the name, I treat it like it wasn't there. And then a B or an F or an M will appear. And then I say bo at a B, then I say the name, then banana, fanner, and foe. And then I say the name again with an F, very plain, then a fee, fi, and a mo. And then I say the name again with an M this time, and there isn't any name that I can't rhyme. But if the first two letters are ever the same, I drop them both and say the name. I like Bob, Bob drop the B's, Bo, or Fred, Fred drop the F's for red, or Mary, Mary drop the M's, Mo, airy. That's the only rule that is contrary. Barantor, 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 Bo, Arantor, Banana, Fana, Fo, Farantor, Fee, Fi, Mo, Marantor. Barantor. Yay! I love that. Thank you for the resub, Barantor. Thank you so much. Thank you. Carla asks, what about the question of people who want to resist but don't know where or how to? That's all, because like one person resistance isn't very effective. That's another great question. And Goblin Katie, I adore you too. That's how you know it's not just a marriage to gain France as an ally. Yes, thank you. Goblin Katie, you do know what that just meant. I mean, you just gave bits and you know what that means, right? I mean, you know. Right? That means I'm gonna sing you a song. And by the way, I'm going to answer your question, Krellin, because it's really good. I didn't know that you brought France as an ally. You never know, right? I mean, I did register my holdings from Attack from the East. I mean, as you do. So when I get tips or bits, which is much appreciated because it helps me, it helps me go over there and, give money to the cast. When I get tips and bits, I sing the song We're in the Money. But I sing it as sung by Ginger Rogers in the film Gold Diggers of 1933, which means I sing it in Pig Latin. Earway and hey, the anime. Earway and hey, the anime. Ewe at gale at way up, way up, way at way x to tit gale young way. Earway and hey, the anime. Either I skays or ani say. Oh man, the ashen pray, ooh, the are, they was down way hungry. Ewe ever eat bread, leonsley, way at breonsley, ute day. And we see the end, the ord will look left, the eye guarantee the eye. We're in the money, we're in the money. We've got a lot of what it takes to get along. I love that. That just makes me so happy. It fills me with so much joy. Thank you, Goblin Katie, for giving me an excuse to sing in Pig Latin, which is really all I want in my life. That's it. Is it the bits or is it the singing in Pig Latin? I think the real gift is the singing in Pig Latin, to me at least. That's my favorite. Trooper, remind me not to do space combat during your streams. Oh, okay, all right. Barantor, you can't trust the Virginians, the Virginias. So, and also, Krellin, those are really great questions. And there are, of course, these other questions that I think of as well. Things about like, what do you do when you don't know how to resist? Also questions of who can you trust? Also questions of what do you do with collaborators? What do you do with people who are just trying to survive? I also know that very few people in France remembers the resistance. The vast majority of the French people were just like, gonna just keep my head down and, try to just weather this. And I feel like there's some really good questions you can bring out about that, right? So all these, remind me right now, I'm doing it wrong. Oh no, Krellin! And so like, these are really interesting questions. And when the game started and I got these players, right, for season 1, I didn't yet know them very well. Like I didn't know who they were. And so I didn't know how best to poke at them, right, in terms of trying to get character exploration. And you have to know something, this is really important. Character exploration, for me, when I do character exploration sort of simulationism, that doesn't mean only traumatic things. That's some stuff, but it's not just that, because that doesn't explore you enough, right? So I was like, okay, I know that they're art people, so let's give them some so some antagonists. Let's give them some kind of hard situations. Let's give them Jeanette, who's a collaborator, who is 18 and naive and poor and is doing the best she can, but who's also a collaborator. What are they going to do with that? Let's see. Let me give them some really important art at a party where they can't just go gangbusters, because like let me give them some difficult situations and see the ways in which how they develop, right? Let me see what where I can sort of push them a little bit. People are more than their trauma. Exactly. Jeanette is bringing up interesting questions for me. Oh, I'm so glad, Krillin, because this is what I'm interested in. Like, and I do want to note, this is something that's really important to note, that maybe you have noticed this already, that the process that I go through when I'm running a game like this is not a narrativist process. I'm not thinking of an arc with a beginning, middle, and end with a plot. Like, I'm not thinking, oh, okay, I'm going to start right here, and then we're going to build up the tension to here for the story, and then there's going to be this big confrontation. This is our big bad. This is how we're going to end it. Like, I'm not thinking in terms of narrative arc. I'm thinking in terms of character exploration, and that ends up meaning that I do different things than other people might do, right? Like I set things up differently, I plan things differently, and I shape things differently, because my priority is not like a big fight on a Zeppelin in episode 15. It's actually to find out. I have questions. I sort of create, and it's different because season 1, I didn't have as good of a huge overarching question because I didn't know them yet as well. Like, I started developing it as time went on. Because didn't they deliberately leave her to the Gestapo because she was a collaborator, and now they're all worried? Yeah. Yeah. So the thing is, Krone, I think that season 1, they felt like it was totally fine to screw people over if they were collaborators or bad people, like whatever. Like, it's totally fine. Like, we don't have to worry about them as we don't have to worry about them, right? Like, we don't have to worry about people like that. And part of what I was doing last season, actually, just to sort of give you a heads up, Jeanette is a story thread in this tapestry. She is. That could get challenging when you have to create depth and NPC on the fly, like Jeanette and Hannah are so complex now. Oh yeah, and partly is because I tend to think about character. That tends to be like, and again, different GMs think differently, right? And this is again about like your priority, and I'm just trying to give you an insight to how I do it so you can think about it. I think about character all the time. Like, that tends to be where my mind goes first. Aren't real people, are disposable people leads to every mass atrocity. But what happens for me is that some people will think, oh, what is their function in the story? Like, what is oh, how will this person aid the story, right? Like, how will they aid the story? And so like, they're often thinking about like tropes and foreshadowing and like certain kind of those devices, or if they're gamists, they're going to think about like sort of fair challenges and like what's a good fair challenge. And for me, I tend to be like, who's this character, and what are their motivations, what are their goals, what do they need, what are their failings, and that tends to be what I think of almost immediately. And I get them deeper, but that's my first thought. My first thought is not, oh, I need a big bad. My first thought is, okay, so this person, what would make this person like an interesting character to explore, and that also will be interesting in connection with these other characters? Like, so I'm always thinking in that sort of mode. And when I made Jeanette, I was like, okay, Jeanette is going to be a collaborator, and she's going to be somebody who is arrogant and haughty, because she's got stuff that other people don't have, which is going to make her slightly unlikable. But she's going to be that way because she's insecure, right? And so I'm thinking, she's young, she's in love with this Gestapo guy because it's probably her first, and like, I just start like, it's her first real sort of love. She grew up not being very political at all. She's pretty naive about the politics. Also, they've not really done any atrocities just yet. Like, what does she know, right? Like, she's doing her best. She's also, I imagine that she was probably looked down on at school by people who maybe had more money than her. Probably some of those people, right, were Jewish, because it'll like make the anti-Semitism work better for like be more palatable for her, right? So like thinking about like, okay, she's here, like, and then now she has a chance to get back at those people who didn't treat her well, right? And so sort of trying to craft this motivation for who this person is, but also thinking about more money, more wit, right? So I'm thinking, okay, so now I have a character who I think is interesting for me to explore. Like, I'm interested to explore who Jeanette is me thinking in season 1, but also I think that she might cause the players to do interesting explorations of themselves as well. So that'll be interesting. And as she develops, like, oh, she wants to be a singer. She wants the spotlight. She was never given enough attention. She wants attention. This will be interesting to see how Sylvie deals with that. She does this. This will be interesting to see how, right, okay, well now if she's a little bit flirtatious with Jules, that will cause some of his trouble about being mixed race to come in. So how will he deal with that? So I can sort of, in this sort of complex character, there are the possibilities of seeing how they impact the other characters in terms of their character exploration, and then I see what happens. I see if it provokes those other characters or not, if so, how, and then I take note of those provocations so I can figure out how to keep developing a good character exploration. The Regina line, she wasn't supposed to live, because if she lives, then you have to deal with your guilt, right? By the way, Trooper, I was having trouble watching the VOD on Twitch. Oh, thank you, Carolyn. Normally I upload the episode. It's a little bit of a timing. Oh, okay. Don't worry. None of this is spoilers for episode 2. Normally, what ends up happening is that I get it up the next day. Is what I normally do. There's like I have a kind of a long and involved post-show process, which involves a lot of doing edits and whatnot. But I ended up having to do a bunch of stuff after stream on Thursday, so it's not up yet, but I'm hoping to get it done today, so that it's there. Okay, good. By the way, the name game. Come on, everybody. I say now let's play a game. I bet you I can make a rhyme out of anybody's name. The first letter of the name, I treat it like it wasn't there, and then a B or an F, or an M will appear. And then I say bow at a B, then I say the name, then banana, fanner, and foe. Then I say the name again with an F, very plain, then a fee, fi, and a mo. And then I say the name again with an M this time, and there isn't any name that I can't rhyme. But if the first 2 letters are ever the same, I drop them both and say the name. I like Bob, Bob drop the B's, Bo, or Fred, Fred drop the F's, fo, red, oh Mary, Mary drop the M's, mo, airy. That's the only rule that is contrary. Be boodle-floof, be boodle-floof, be boodle-floof, bo, e boodle-floof, banana, fanna, foofy, foodle-floof, fee, fi, mo, be boodle-floof. Be boodle-floof. Yeah, it was just a little bit packed. So my goal is to get it up tonight. The only tricky thing is I've got to actually do some, a little bit weird audio editing for stuff. But anyway, my point is I'm going to get it up tonight. I'm probably going to get it up during Critical Role, actually. So I do this, right? I start developing tensions and problems that I think will provoke them. Now, season 1, because it's the first season and it takes me a while to really get to know those characters and for the players to get to know their characters, means that I end up doing a lot more casting about. I end up sort of like bringing in things like, okay, this might work for them. Finding out like what's going to work for Sylvie, what's going to work for Tango, what's going to work for Jules, what's going to work for Regina, what are going to be the things that are going to push them in some ways. What happens if I give them something nice? And I do that. So like, for example, Jacqueline, which is, we've seen Jacqueline twice in season 1, in the very beginning and at the very, very end of season 1. We've only seen her twice so far, and she's that woman who was walking down the street on the very first episode who saw Tango. He asked her for a smoke, and she's like, oh my gosh, you are super obvious. Let me pull you aside and give you some advice about how not to get caught as a big old obvious American. And that was there to do some work, but she came back. I brought her back in his solo episode. One, because she could, but because he was in a super dark space. Like, he was in a very dark space after like killing that serial killer and all that. And I thought, what is going to challenge his character right now? What will be an important thing to find out more about who he is? Like, I need to know more about who he is. And so what is the best thing that I can do in this moment after all of that has happened? What will be the most interesting thing that I can do that also makes sense within this world, that is plausible and consistent, to challenge who he might be right now? And that thing, the thing that I thought was the most challenging for that character exploration, was kindness. That she sees him again and she notices that he is not in a good way, and so she takes him back to her place and she gives him kindness. And that kindness was also a moment for character exploration. How does he, when things are dark and he's in this space, how does he deal with kindness? And Tango cheated on Sylvie, except, are they really together? Although he didn't actually cheat on her. They danced, but he did. And that was actually very interesting, because that was also a bit of a thing. I was like, will he cheat on Sylvie? It's a question I wanted to know. Will he cheat on her? Like, I wanted to know if he would. Like, there were a lot of things I wanted to figure out. He didn't cheat on her. He danced with her, but he didn't cheat. He didn't kiss her. He didn't cheat on her. And his response to that kindness was to put on his tango face and still be, no, they just danced. They didn't dance. They just danced, which I thought was really interesting. And so sometimes when I really want to sort of push a character, I have to do the thing that will push that character, right, to explore. And Hannah is her own full and fully realized character who's going through her own process, and I'm really excited to find out about Hannah. But Hannah is there in many ways to push Regina in really different ways than she might be pushed before, right? Do you know what I mean? Like Hannah is a real challenge to Regina. And clearly Falstaff is a challenge to Sylvie. He's now a challenge he's a challenge to, what's interesting is he was a challenge to all of them, but he's less of a challenge to Regina now than he was before, right? And so like to see, so like you give them, Tango and Sylvie I do not think are exclusive, but I don't think they've talked about it, which I think is, well, they're having sex. I will say this, Tango and Sylvie are having sex. They have had sex. I am 100% certain of that, but I don't know exactly what's going on with their feelings. Like, this is actually my reading of them. Yes, my reading of Tango and Sylvie is that they've had sex together in that way in which they're like, we have sex, like, we're open, we don't care, like, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're kind of like decadent fun people who have sex with each other. And I think they've had sex in that way. And then I think they've had moments after some trauma where they haven't had sex, where they've just sort of like slept on the same couch together, right? And that moment where after Tango like saw the gas and felt like he was responsible for some people's deaths and was feeling so ill, and Sylvie just big spooned him. That's the thing right there. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, right? And I think that they clearly are two people who are not good with intimacy. I think they're really bad with intimacy, these two characters. And I think that their relationship with each other is challenging for each other. I think that they are not admitting to themselves that they have a more intimate relationship with each other than they are willing to admit to themselves. And they also are not the kind of people who have those conversations with anyone, including themselves. And so they are, I think, in a situation where they are lying to themselves and each other, and there's something deeper is going on than they let on. And this is a bit of a problem for them. And so for me as a GM, right? For me as a GM, I see this problem between Sylvie and Tango, and I'm like, okay, this is where I need to push. just curious, are Tango and Sylvia in chat? I do not think they are. Most of my cast, they often don't watch my streams because they're very busy, so I get to say some stuff. So, but like for me, like this is where I want to push. I want to see if they're going to be just characters. No, they're just characters. And so for me, now that I know them better, what I do as a GM when I'm planning is I come up with the questions that I think are going to be good. Like first season 1, I had some short-term questions, and now I have some long-term questions. Season 2 is about a number of really long-term questions. Things like, how are Sylvie and Tango going to deal with their intimacy issues? Or are they? Are they or are they not? Will they be able to, are they going to grow in a way that will enable them to get more access to their feelings? Will they be able to express those things? I don't know the answer to that question, but it's a question that I'm asking. Will Regina be able to accept love? Actually, many of these characters really have problems accepting love, to be honest. Like this is a theme with a lot of them. And so now the idea of being able to accept love is a question that is one of the questions that I need to sort of like deal with them about, right? Like feelings are gross. What are they going to do about that? But that is not the only question that I have, right? And so like Oscar is a new character, so I have to figure out some of his questions. But there are questions for each of them. That's an interesting overarching question in that setting. It is Super Rave Monster. It is, and I want really good overarching questions. So not overarching plots, but overarching questions. And I do have a big overarching question for this season that's about the group as a whole. Jules seems fine, and that was actually really interesting that Jules was the one that actually seemed fine accepting love. Now for Jules, which is a question that I would love to find out if we can get JF back when grad school sort of settles down for him, which was, see, there's some questions going on with Jules, and that is that he found love with a person for whom their relationship kind of at this point only works in war. Would their relationship work outside of war is a bit of a question that is, right, that is a question to explore with them. He's the hopeless romantic, but he's also one of their moral cores. I have another question, and that question is, with Jules gone, who will be the person to step up to be the moral core of Bricktop's Brigade, or will no one? Like, that's another one of the questions I have for this season. Jules is gone. Jules is the one who would say, we can't leave that person in that concentration camp. Jules is the one who will say, we have to do something. We have to save the people. Jules was a person of the people, right? And so Jules had a particular kind of moral core to him. And now the question that I have for season 2 is, who will be that person? Or will no one be that person, right? So that's not a question. Obviously, it will not work outside of war, even if they both want it to, right? And so but like, how do they feel about that? Are they? Oh, like Oscar stood up, so now I want to see. But here's the thing. Tango also has a bit of a moral core. He didn't, but he's grown one. But he often doesn't stand up to Sylvie or Regina. So will Oscar stand up to Sylvia Regina? If the people who have these sort of stronger moral cores, what will they do, right? So like, I want to know, will Oscar stand up to some of the plans that Regina and Sylvia are making? I mean, these are questions that I have that I'm really interested in. I don't know the answers, but we're going to find out, right? Or at least we're going to do our best to try to find out. We're going to see how these situations will develop. Yeah, and it took Oscar 2 months to stand up, and he now is in a particularly vulnerable situation because he's afraid that they could turn him in at any moment. So what will he do, right? So I've got there. Maybe he'll make a habit out of it. Let's see. And so for me, I'm working on questions. That's how I develop my character-driven sandboxes. I think, what are the really important questions that I need to ask? Can you accept love? Can you come back from, like, how do you deal with trauma? How do you deal with kindness if you do not feel like you are deserving? Though I'm not 100%, Greg knew he could have stood up sooner. He tried. He did try to stand up sooner, but I gave him a compel. and he took the fate point, right? So he did try. There was that moment a little bit earlier before the end of that sequence where he did try, and I was like, here's a compel, and he's like, okay, right? So like, but I compelled him. I was like, I think maybe you don't just yet. And he was like, okay, I'll take the fate point, which he then used later to refuse my second compel, which is fine. And it's good. So, and I have like oh, Rissa, thank you. And I have a really big, very serious question for season 2. I'm not 100% Oscar knew he could have stood up. 2/3 of the way there. Oh, he had an intro. So like I have a very serious question. Come like the biggest. Come on in my house, come on. Come on in my house, come on. Come on in my house, I'm gonna give you candy. Come on in my house, I'm gonna give you everything. What is Kiss? Hey, What Is Kiss? How are you? Hey, y'all, I don't know if you know this, but What Is Kiss is amazing. And I love What Is Kiss, and I'm gonna just give you a streamer. What is Kiss? Right? Yes. Kisan, who you may have known from What Even Is Kiss? Like, I think that's a song by Prince, and then also a cover by Tom Jones. Kisan was over on Hyper RPG in this really great cipher system, and he was playing such a cool character who was like Oz. It was very like, it was cool. Anyway, great player, cool person, did some cool GMing, sent some love. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, I've got a really serious question. A very serious question for season 2. Nathan Kiss. Will they wear black and white makeup and tight leather and have big hair and play punk rock? I want to know. It is way too hot, way too smoky, and I have way too much work to do between now and the beginning of my vacation on Saturday. Oh, we are here to soothe your nerves. And I have to tell you, the question I have for this season is Geek Space TV. That's what I meant. Thank you. The question I don't think I can tell you. Nathan, always with a shout out. I don't think I can tell you the question, not because I don't trust you. I trust, all of you I trust, because I know that you all are going to do right by me and not give spoilers to the cast. But this question is so serious that if the players knew that this was the question that I'm wondering about, it would change their behavior. And that's not gonna work for me, because I want to know the answer to the question honestly. I want to know the answer to this question. It's a kind of a serious ethical question that I have for them. And if they know that this is the question that I'm wondering about, they're gonna do different things. So I cannot say it out loud. I cannot say the question out loud right now. I can say it another time, because if any of them pop in here and hear that this is the question that I'm wondering about, it's going to change their behavior fairly radically. So I will not say at the moment. Oh yeah, Pope, ethics in a time of war. Please tell me now. Look, I would tell you, it's just that I know that they might sneak on here. They might watch the VOD, so I can't tell you. But all of this, by the way, is a long roundabout way to tell you the thing that I wanted to tell you in the very beginning of the stream before I start the game, which is this. What's so awesome is when you have a player who's super into doing that character work. And one of the things that I love about Dot is that Dot is into doing the character work. And if you look at the conversation we had in Discord where we sat and really talked about Regina in this really deep way, you know that Dot is doing that work of the character exploration. Dot is a character explorer, which is why she's such a joy to have as a character, as a player in one of my games. And like, if I can find people who are really into exploring character, then I'm like, ooh, you'll be really great for this game. And so I've picked everybody who is, but it was great just sitting there talking with her. I had to be careful not to get my spoilers out there, but like sitting there and really sort of thinking about like, okay, what does it mean, the fact that since she's been 15, when she realized that she's queer, that she's been hiding who she is, and she is not. She's like, you know, it's been like 15 years or whatever, right? So who is she now? What does this mean for her? What does that experience of hiding who you are? What does that mean for who you are as a person? And then, right, what does that mean in this moment? So like, it was really, for me, it was just lovely having this great conversation with her on Discord about Regina's internal sense of self, because that's really my joy as both a player and as a GM. Yeah, epic. It's not sinking if they want to drop by and say hi. It's true. Yeah, it was. So that was just, so that's the thing. And I will tell you, side note, you all might know Laugh Love Lindy. Laugh Love Lindy and I are in the Witcher game together, and also Aether's Walkway. And we will sometimes spend a couple of hours after stream just psychoanalyzing the characters, because she likes to explore character. I'm like, great, let's talk about our, like, what's going on with our characters' feelings, where they're gonna be, what's going on, and like all this. And so like, if I can go and sit and like chat for like a long time period about characters, I will be a very, very happy person. It will give me joy. Lindy Love, just a couple of yeah, only a couple, yes. It was so Prax. And also, like, Prax is another one that I really love talking to, because Prax will talk about characters. Now, Prax holds back a little bit because sometimes she doesn't want to spoil, but like, Prax does the work. And I will tell you this about Prax, because Prax is here. Prax does the work. I know she doesn't always tell me because of secrets, but Prax does the work, and you know it. You can see it in her RPing, that she does the work, this real deep, like really deep character exploration. And I adore Prax for the same reason, that when I see Prax RPing, I know that all of those choices are super deeply done, and they represent a really complex inner world. And she doesn't always tell me, sometimes she does, but I, as a player, love playing with people who enjoy doing that kind of work, that real sort of like really intense internal work, because that means I know that I get to do other kinds of work with them that's really amazing. Like, oh, it's so good. And then if we talk about it, then that's also delicious. But like, I love, and like, it's a different kind of way of RPing. It's a different way of RPing than if what you're really interested in is like big narrative sweeps, or real sort of like mechanical, like, it's different. It's just really different. It's just a really different way of approaching character, and what you're doing when you're in the game. And by the way, Control Freak, I'm going to sing your song. I want you to know it. Not surprised, missed those long after game talks about Aki and Jenny. Rissa is another one. Rissa's great, because Rissa is another one of my deep character people, where we can just talk about characters for a long time. And like, this is part of where some of my biggest love when I'm RPing comes from. Secret character work hype, yes. Krell says, Trooper, I want you to know for after the stream that I just retweeted a joke purely so you would see it, so don't miss it. Okay, I will, thank you. Prax and Lindy playing off each other on my May Black Roses Bloom, where there is definitely history, was such a treat. Yes. Right, Chekhov versus Tolstoy a bit. Yeah, Tolstoy a bit, yeah. Hey, Polished, how are you? We're talking about like player, like what we're doing as players, right? And I was just talking about how I love playing with people who do deep character work. It's like, it's my joy. Now, I will say that I understand that in certain games that's not what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? And like in certain games I won't. Like when I'm playing Good Society, I know that's not completely my job. Like as a player in Good Society, my job is not super internal character work. It is sort of bringing oneself towards a narrative sweep. So like when I play Good Society, I need to think a bit more narrative. I need to think about, how do I maneuver this character into the spot that will sort of give a really good, compelling arc? What are the kinds of troubles that will be interesting for the story? What kind of reactions do I need for this character to sort of set up with the other character so we can have this moment a little bit later on? It's a different way of thinking about character, and if I'm playing a narrative game, I can do it, and I will do it. I always like peek in, like no matter what kind of style of game I'm doing, I'll always peek in some character work. I will always do some of that character work, because that's like where my heart is that kind of character work. But like, you know, I'll do other things too. Like if the game requires it, You know what I mean? Like, I will do that other work as well. But I love when I can. I love when I can do that work. I love it. Less reading, more singing. Yes. And no, we're totally gonna, it's almost as if we did a whole tavern talk on this and you were in it. Almost. Indeed. Yes, Polished. And I just love not knowing who my character is going to be at the end of the game. I love, like, and that's the thing about the exploration, right? That, like, is that core of simulationism, is that you actually don't know. You don't know where your character is going to end up. And you don't know who they're going to be at the end. And to find out, to explore and find out is so exciting. And sometimes there was a lot of fun that went into that game. Yes. Yeah. And sometimes your characters disappoint you. Sometimes your characters disappoint you. Sometimes they do a thing that you don't think they should do, but then they do it. You know what I mean? Sometimes they don't grow. Sometimes they backslide. And I like exploring that. And I like to be able to open that up. You know what I mean? What I like as a GM is to get players who enjoy that and then to give them space to play inside of their character. Because for me, I love it when I get things that will allow me to explore who my character is and revisit who my character is and struggle with who my character is. I like to sort of shorthand that as hard choices, but sometimes it's not a hard choice. Sometimes it's just an unexpected thing. And so I like to be able to give my players that, like, give my players those moments to be able to explore who they are. And so that's tends to be where I'm going as a GM, is like, tends to be what I'm thinking about. Ooh, Polish is playing COC again. It's a lot of fun. Oh, you know, Rissa, we should transfer our game over to 7th edition. We should do it. Prax says, oh, hey, Trooper, I might be working on some things for Redacted for Saturday. Oh, we've got a session 0 happening on a Saturday for things. I need to have a really long talk with you about where Tommy's head is now that Smitty is deceased. Yeah. Also, Rissa, I will note that Tommy has only known Smitty for less than 4 weeks, because Tommy started the game he's November the 28th, and we are currently December the 22nd, I believe, in game right now. Yeah, we're December 22nd. So for people, I'm in a Call of Cthulhu game with Rissa, and my character joined the game in November 28th, 1947, and we're currently December 22nd, 1947. So it's been a little bit less than 4 weeks. But I started playing this game 9 years ago. It's been like 4 weeks, and it's taken us like 8 years. I'm just gonna note it. Like, that's what I'm gonna note. Sometimes the AI betrays you because they were sold a bill of goods that stunts your character's growth instead of spurring it. It's true, actually. That's true, right? Sometimes circumstances happen, and sometimes you don't do it, you know. But then sometimes you get back, you know, sometimes you get knocked down, you get back up again, and they're never going to keep you down. Sometimes you drink a whiskey drink, and then a vodka drink, and then a cider drink, and then a lager drink. And sometimes you sing the songs that remind you of the good times, and then sometimes you sing the songs that remind you of the better times. Oh, Danny boy. Do you guys play out literally every second of your characters' lives in real time? Not every second. Sometimes our characters sleep, but we play a lot of them. I have no spoons for the transition at the moment, but we can look at something that did after the dumpster fire. That's 22. Yeah. Yes. 4 weeks can be a long time if you're. Yes. Oh, I love that heart, Scabinak. We once took 25 hours of playtime to go through 24 hours in game. Sometimes that happens. And sometimes you hit politicians with pies. If I remember my Chumba woman correctly, you do Control Freak, because they were like a big old anarchists. Speaking of Control Freak, hey, Control Freak. Guess what? The name game. Come on, everybody. I say now let's play a game. I bet you I can make a rhyme out of anybody's name. The first letter of the name, I treat it like it wasn't there. And then a B or an F or an M will appear. And then I say Bo at a B, then I say the name, then banana, fanner, and foe. Then I say the name again with an F, very plain. Then a fee, fi, and a mo. And then I say the name again with an M this time, and there isn't any name that I can't rhyme. Control freak, control freak, control freak, control freak, banana fan, control freak, fee, fi, mo, control freak. Control freak. Thank you for that resub, Control Freak. It is much appreciated. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. And that instance was non-combat D&D. Yeah, I actually think there's a lot of... I find that time slows down when you're jamming or playing in certain instances. And that is when things are very intense. Or, yeah. Time slows down when things are very intense, and that intensity might just be emotional intensity, or it could be combat intensity, but like when things are very visceral, you know what I mean? Then things slow down because you don't want to miss every moment matters. Like when you're on a time, like one of the reasons why I think we're going through time so slow in this Call of Cthulhu game is because we have cultists who are murdering people, and every day we don't stop them, they murder more people because they want to sort of, do a ritual to bring bad things out into the world because they want to have power, because they're short-sighted, because they're cultists. That's how they are. And so we as players know that every hour is an hour that they're doing things. And so we are like, the last thing that any of us want as players is a time skip. Like if Rissa said to us, would you like to skip forward a week? We'd be like, no, that's a whole week of cultists doing bad things. We can't, no, we need more time. And so like I think that that's like when things are intense like that, time slows down is what I find. We do a lot of gaming while the characters are sleeping. Yeah. Also, that's also true that oftentimes when the characters sleep, they end up not sleeping well. And so sometimes we do get all 24 hours of that day. Chromatic says, I think time is an important aspect that Demon players need to understand. A good example, D&D 5th ed, XP levels actually meant to go from 0 to 20 in 43 days. And if you do 1 day a week, that's a year or so. That's how the published campaign plays. Yeah, but I suppose that's how those campaigns are running, right? That like you go from 0 to 20 in 1 year, but that's a very different pacing from earlier D&D, and it's a very different pacing. And I will tell you, there's a thing about this. It's actually really important. That pacing and D&D pacing is a radical shift. It's a radical shift based on their studies that said a lot of players never get to level 20, right? Because it was a longer journey from 0 to 20 in earlier editions of D&D before Milestone and when you're just distributing XP and that sort of thing. And so you would have campaigns that would last years and you would not get to 20, and maybe you would never get to 20. And apparently a lot of players never get past 15, around 12, 13, 14, 15. And so I think that D&D 5e deliberately up to the power level, sped up advancement so that you advance much, much quicker, using Milestone being like, every 4 sessions, right? Like really trying to ramp up the speed and making their published adventure paths so that it will bring you very rapidly from 0 to 20 in a way that is faster than it has ever been in D&D. Is that a good thing or bad thing? I have no judgment. I just note that it's very, very different. By the way, Goblin Katie, I would like to thank you for that resub, and I'm going to thank you for that resub. Build the Forest. We're talking about RPGs. We're theoretically playing Wandersong, Build the Forest, but we're talking RPGs at the moment, and time in RPGs, like how much time you spend. Like, because I was noting that I've been playing in this game with Rissa, this Call of Cthulhu game for, I got to Massachusetts in 2009, and so I probably started playing so it's been like 8 years maybe, and we've only done like 3.5 weeks of time in game in about 8 years, and we're talking about the ways in which time sort of shifts or not shifts. But Goblin Katie, the name game, come on everybody, I said now let's play a game. I bet you I can make a rhyme out of anybody's name. The first letter of the name, I treat it like it wasn't there. And then a B or an F, or an M will appear. And then I say bo at a B, then I say the name, then banana, fanner, and foe. And then I say the name again with an F, very plain. Then a fee, fi, and a mo. And then I say the name again with an M this time, and there isn't any name that I can't rhyme. Goblin Katie, Goblin Katie, Goblin Katie, Boblin Katie, Banana Fana for Foblin Katie, Fee, Fi, Moblin Katie. Goblin Katie. Oh, yeah, yeah, yes. Goblin Katie, 4 syllables. I got it though. I got it. Yes. Yes. And then all the time you will give us. Prax says 10 sessions for my Castle Falkenstein game averages 30 hours of game time, making it today 3 is a shock. Oh, that's so interesting, right? That's really interesting. I think it was a day with a dinner party. Oh, polished. Yeah. It's also interesting to think about time slow or fast. Like sometimes people there's a thing I noticed that sometimes people want things to go faster, wherein people will be RPing in real time a conversation and they'll be like, how long? Like, oh, that was like 4 hours. Like, we were actually just here. It was like 15 minutes. That was like 15-minute conversation, right? And so like, when do you want to compress time? Which is, I think, is interesting. You say short-sighted, I say selfish. All the time you'll give us. And it's rare that they're in dreams together, although it does happen. They also sometimes split the party and it takes forever to get them back together. Well, that's because we have so many fires to put out. It's true. Oh, thank you, Polish, for the contribution to the wireless radios. Talking about time tensions applies to RPGs. Level 20 is a trap. We theoretically play Wandersong a lot around here. We do. We will. We're gonna get Wandersong in. It's true. Oh wait, today's Elvira's 69th birthday. Nice. Yes. And I was thinking about also where you are. So for example, this is like really interesting. I was thinking about mechanics and time period. So when I was playing in this one Call of Cthulhu game, which also kind of went slowly, by the way, but because it was the 1920s, there were moments where time had to go by quickly. Because if you wanted to travel from the United States to Europe in 1920, that was gonna take a week or longer, right? And so there are these, and because we are, and there's a lot of train travel, right? There's like a lot of travel that, because it was like kind of a globe-trotting campaign, but it was a globe-trotting campaign set in the 1920s. And so that game actually did have quite a few time jumps just when we were traveling. And that was a thing that was true. I also wonder about A Song of Ice and Fire, the Game of Thrones game. There's a Game of Thrones game that was done by Green Ronin Press, and I wonder what the pacing of that game will be like, because it has season level mechanics. It has mechanics to see how your holdings progress over seasons. And if the game has season level mechanics, where in the fall this happens, in the spring this happens, or like Houses of the Blood, it also has season level mechanics. Does that mean that we're going to get faster? Will we have more time passage in a game like Game of Thrones, wherein season length time is built into the system? I don't know the answer to that question, and I would love to know if anyone has played it. If that, like, Prax, you have, right? Prax, you've played it, right? Do you get that? Does that happen? Like, what is the pacing of a game like Game of Thrones longer because of like, you know, season length mechanics? Does that, do you get like, you know, slower means faster time. Hey, that thing you like, how are you? So Prax says yes. So like, this is really interesting to me to think about the ways in which your RPG might actually encourage faster passage of time or less faster passage of time based on what kind of mechanics the game gives you. Your 3-body problem? Ooh, that's interesting. Ooh, that would be interesting. Praxis, it depends on, you have to remember that the seasons are different than what we consider. That is true. Yeah. So we're you know, gonna talk to some people because we're basically done with this adventure. We just haven't talked to the people to finish it up, so we're gonna do that. Oh, no, I wasn't ready, everybody. I wanted to talk to people. I didn't actually want to jump on her broom. Look at that. Look at that. I meant to go and talk to the people and find out how they were all doing. It's fine. We're just starting Act 6. It's fine. There was backstory that I'm not like, there's like people chatting about things that I clearly am not going to find out about anymore. The Beast at Ichor Mountain. Ooh. Oh, that's a little scary. Yeah, as long as I talk to 3 NPCs, I'm playing the game. It's true. That is true. I've been listening to help from a friend and filling in roughly 9,000 years of history into my D&D campaign. Ooh, hey, that thing, do you know Microscope? Do you know the game Microscope? There's a game called Microscope, and it's a game that is all about world building long histories. So that's one that sort of is a game that is built to span huge histories. So that one might be interesting for you. Gotta delete your save and start over. Oh no, oh my gosh, that thing you like. You need to look into a game called Microscope. If you need to fill in 9,000 years of history and you're doing it with a friend, and maybe you want to do it with your players, I'm going to tell you, that's what you want to do. Get the game Microscope. It is it's a game. The whole point of it is to build a world's timeline, and you each sort of take turns around, and you each sort of like dial in onto a part of time in this huge timeline that you're all creating together. And you can like do scenes with actual characters. Like maybe you're like, I want to explore what happens when the king gets assassinated, and so you do that scene, then you pull back up, and then someone's like, okay, but actually, you know what, we know the king is assassinated here, but let's go back 20 years earlier and let's sort of think about this moment where this happens. And so you kind of like go back and forth in time, and you sort of take turns around the table, and you sort of build up this sort of history. And so what you would probably do is you would know your end point and your beginning point, and that end point is where you're going to start your campaign, and then you can go through. It's kind of cool. So I've given my players free reign over the cities they're from. Oh, that very authored by Ben Robbins. That is right. Yeah, it's I have not been able to play it, but I've watched it played a couple of times, and I've read it, and I'm like, okay, this is it. Oh, that was easy, and Miriam made such a big deal out of it. She's so silly sometimes. I guess this isn't exactly it. You need to get to the top of the mountain, right? Right. But I can't fly that high up. There's crazy winds and storms, and so you need to do the rest on foot. I got you pretty far, though. Also, I'm really worried about Chandesh. All those monsters went loose. Vivian can't fight them alone, you know? So, if something happened to me, well, I just really want to get back. Oh, I understand. Thank you, Sandra. Yeah. Okay. Good luck. Oh, I'm alone now. Alone and without... I just realized something, everybody. I realized something. You know how sometimes in some games I hoard potions and potatoes and scrap metal and just like all the things? There's like a little bit of a completionist hoarding tendency there in my video games, in games that have inventory. I find in talkie games, I often really want to know every single bit of dialogue, which I love it when games punish me for that. That's awesome, by the way, because then I'm like, ooh. So I was doing some world building for a fantasy idea, and I think I created Swiss Buddhist dwarves. Oh, that's cool. Why isn't... Oh, Krellin. No, Mem and Lala didn't break up, but Mem, after being almost murdered, thought that she was still injured, like she wasn't completely healthy, and she thought that she would be a hindrance and that she wouldn't be able to be as helpful, and that she's kind of pointless anyway. And oh, there's a big monster over there in the background, everybody. And that she wanted to go home to see her grandmother. So Carl's like, so yes, you know. Also, did you see that big monster there that I'm gonna have to deal with without my friend? That seems distressing. Maybe I'll find friends, and it'll be fine. Maybe that'll happen. Let's go in this building. Tell me lies. I love that song. Tell me sweet little lies. I love the part. Okay, so this is the part I love in that song. I love it goes, tell me lies. I like this little sequence of events. Tell me lies. Tell me sweet little lies. Tell me lies. Tell me lies. Right. So like Chris McVie, and then those three sort of flowing in that little thing. I just love that very much. There was a big monster in the background also who lives here. Hey, I'm jumping on the bed. Yeah. And I'm dancing. Jumping on the bed. There's nobody in here. There was totally a big monster. I saw it. I know there was a big monster, and it was up in my face, looking at me in a big monster kind of a way, and I know it. What are your guys' thoughts on a pantheon of gods where each god is given their domain, death, life, knowledge, so by being worshipped for that domain? This way to the heart of a temple. Oh, sweet. You know that thing you like? It's interesting. I had a thing that is not the same, but similar-esque. It's not exactly the same, because it's actually based on ancestor worship rather than just like gods themselves. But what I would say is, in that system, what I think you might want to ponder, as it were, is what happens when the worshipers start changing their idea of the god, right? So somebody who is the god of death at year 100 may not be the god of death in the year 700. If God's power, how do I put this? Many people sort of tend to think of, oh no, looks like I cannot get here, but I want to. I want to, fine. A lot of, like, I think it's kind of, it often happens that you have the idea that gods get their general power, like their immortality and their power, from the energy of their followers. But if the followers actually also control not just not their god status, but like what their domain is, what they have domain over, then I would say that you might want to think about the ways in which there'll be mission creep, the ways in which the gods might start off in one space and end up in another space, or what that space might mean could end up being somewhat different. Yeah. Chromatic says, when I got my first apartment and mom came to visit, I jumped on my couch and asked her to smoke outside. Hey, Atomica, welcome in. Right? What happens when your god of war becomes the god of death? Right? And like, I think that becomes a thing that you would want to ponder, right? If their pantheon itself changes over time, that becomes, I think, important. Oh, Atomica, you know what this means. I see you, Atomica. Oh, when does death become undeath or decay? Right. We worship the river. We worship rivers in general. Oh, or actually we worship water. Yeah, right. Like, or actually maybe there's some kind of flood, and all of a sudden now then your god of water becomes a god of wrath. You know what I mean? Like, so like, I think that like thinking about the ways in which, if you're thinking about gods in this kind of way, that I think that thinking about how that god has transformed over time, picked up new domains, lost domains, changed domains based on the worshipers, would be really, really interesting. So Atomica and Rissa, I want to thank you. And for thanks, I'm going to read. I'm not going to read anything. I'm going to sing. I'm going to sing We're in the Money, as sung by Ginger Rogers from the film Gold Diggers 1933. So I'm gonna sing it in Big Latin. Irway hey the anime, Irway hey the anime, Ewe at gele at way of way at wid wigs to tit gele young whale, Irway hey the anime, Either I skays or ani say, old man the ADS and pray, we are a woo, they was down way hungry. Ewe every eat red lands lay, way at brands lay, oot day.
And we see the end, Lord will look left, the eye, in the eye. We're in the morning, we're in the morning. We've got a lot of what it takes to get along.
Thank you both for those bits and giving me an excuse to sing in Pig Latin, which is all that I want in my life. Clearly. Name me a nice god of water. Gods of water are always wrath. Maybe some river gods? Like, there might be some river gods who are less... Unless you flood a lot, in which case that's probably a problem. This is actually a major concept in my RP world. Godhood can actually transfer and be earned. The main idea I'm playing with is gods accepting and denying the domains they were given. Oh, so you're thinking about gods denying their... Interesting. I just woke from unexpected but need a nap. Oh, naps are delicious. If you pray hard enough, there won't be a flood this spring. Gosh. Now, a lot of this... sorry, gush. That's also somewhat related to unknown armies and the way that gods work in unknown armies, in which I think are super, super interesting. If Oceanus ascends to godhood, Oceanus would be the nicest river god. You don't even know. Oceanus would be such a good river god. It would be such an earnest river god, and I think the problem would be that actually the non-flooding frequently was not considered wrathful because the floods were always so predictable and helpful. Yes. I have two factions, one that worships the good gods and that wants to abolish all worship and free the gods. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Atomic says, my entire system's out of whack because I spent last week injured and on meds. Oh, yeah. Oh, Lunar God was. There was another thing that about I went on armies. Okay, you. What brings you here, pilgrim? Oh no, I know what you. This place is not safe. Please come inside with me, pilgrim. Okay. All right, I'll do that. Hey, we got our dance person. Hey. Oh, by the way. I just need to tell you, we're going to do a giveaway for the action co-op game, the indie action co-op game, God's Trigger. And we're going to do that like in the next 5 or 10 minutes. So just make sure you say something in chat, and then you will be entered in the 5 minutes. We'll do the giveaway. 5 minutes. Welcome, pilgrim. Also, Tolkien's pantheon, storms were tied to a lack of water deity, not... a lackey of the water deity, not Ulm himself. Oh, that's interesting. Welcome, pilgrim. I'm sure you noticed how quiet it is here. The heart of the mountain has changed. A dark beast stalks its slopes. The people who once lived here have evacuated. Only we monks remain now. It's Kenneth the monk. At first, the monsters were many. They came down from the mountain peak. Destructive, hungry things. We tried to hide everyone here in the temple. But after the monsters spread away from the mountain, the beast came next. Its presence is terrifying, pilgrim. It is empty, utterly devoid of life or personality. A dark harbinger of the end. Nobody is safe here anymore. You are welcome to stay in the temple with us, but you should consider leaving this place entirely. Actually, I came to climb the mountain. I have to visit the overseer here. Even Atlanu water was evil. The most evil advanced bending technique was the water one. Avatar: The Last Airbender. I would not be surprised if that were common in the older pantheons as well, but the subtitles have been concealed by time. Oh, interesting, yeah. Ulma was a jerk for not rating in his lackey. Tomica says, Trooper will appreciate this. My god of the depths is an emo black mage who attained a Leviathan form. He's not wrathful, he's just a nerd who wanted to study and explore where no adventure has gone before. Yeah. So in if those of you who do not know how the gods work in Unknown Armies, which Unknown Armies is a game that I really want to GM, I just haven't figured out how to do it yet. But actually, to be fair, I feel like since I've been doing all of this like RPG theory in the last 10 years, like I've spent the last good 10 years or so, a little bit more than the last 10 years, a little bit more, really digging into RPG theory. And I wonder if going back to Unknown Armies now might make it easier for me to GM it now that I've got a lot of theory in my brain. But the pantheon there is really, really, really interesting. That thing you like says, hey, Hawkeye, an idea occurs, weather is often applied to the motions of a gods. The weather is actually a messenger god who is communicating with mankind, telling them the gods are angry or upset. Pilgrim, you must reconsider. Nobody has communed with the Overseer in our lifetimes. They have long since abandoned us. They're just sick. All the Overseers are getting messed up. That's why this stuff is happening. But I'm going to fix it. I'm learning the Earth Song. You seem so sure. I do not know what this Earth Song is, but I will not stop you from carrying out your will. If this truly is the end, it may not much matter what you do anyway. Is anywhere safe anymore? We are cut off from the rest of the world here. Oh, I've definitely seen monsters, but I don't know if they're everywhere. I fear the end is coming soon. This is the end, my only friend, the end. This is the end. This is the end. Doo-doo-doo. My only friend, the end. This is the end. Doo-doo-doo. What's that second line? What's the second line? I suspect that my only friend, the end, is the second line and something else is the first line. Oh no, this is going to be a problem if I cannot. This is going to be a problem for me, everybody. I will be distracted by the fact that I cannot remember that two couplet from The Doors, The End. If someone can help me, I will be a happier person. We the gods are upset with my dad. I took tomorrow off to visit his grave and split the, yeah. Thank you, Krellin. I fear the end is coming soon and there is no escaping it. Use this time wisely, Pilgrim. Well, let's see who we can talk to. We devoted our lives to the teaching of Aya. She's a creature of light, of love, but even her love cannot extend forever. Our world is old and weary. Our overseers have abandoned us. We are beyond redemption. It is our time to go. So we are witness to Aya's darkest hour. Oh, Patrol, everybody here is super like, all things die. They would not be so beautiful if they did not. This is something Aya understands. A world that never died would be meaningless. We should be proud to be alive for the end. the teaching of hey. We devote our lives to the teaching, and now our eyes are open, and now we follow the teachings of I. We are what makes this universe a beautiful one. We have been preparing for this for a long time, though I did not foresee it would be in my lifetime. I am grateful. Every moment we have is a gift from Aya. Do not worry for the time taken from us. Instead, I'm grateful for all the time we were given. You ought to be grateful too, young one. Chrome's like, that's easy for you to say, old person. We do it. Well, let's go up the stairwell and find out what... Oh, this person looks happy. Maybe we'll have a happy monk. Oh, a visitor. How unexpected. Are you a student of Aya as well? Have you come to this high place to witness the end? We have plenty of space and accommodations and rations. And this temple was meant to support many more people, but they have all evacuated. We would be happy to have you here. It will be a special thing to be a part of. I wonder what it will sound like. I wonder what we will see when she sings. I do not think we will suffer. And I wonder what the next universe will be like. Even though we are not worthy to be part of it, I hope we will see a tiny glimpse of it. They say each universe is born perfect. We are at its end when discord is taken over. But I would like to see a perfect one. It would be so fulfilling to see her wondrous vision, to hear her wondrous song. Thank you. This is the end. Da-da-da. Beautiful friend. Thank you thank you. This is the end. My only friend. The end. Thank you. This was really, of our elaborate plans, the end. Of everything that stands, the end. No safety, no surprise, the end. I'll never look into your eyes again. Can you picture it? So, because the thing is, I knew the rhythm was wrong. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was like, the rhythm is wrong. You can't start with, this is the end, my only friend, the end. Because that was like, no, that's the second line. The rhythm, the flow of that line is not the first line, and it was really distracting. So thank you. Thank you, Krellin. You saved me. You saved me. After we talk to these people, we're going to do our giveaway. We are all disciples of Aya. We believe in her and in her plan. We've always known the end was coming. We would be fools to not accept it, when it is so plainly before us. What is Kiss? No! What is Kiss? No, we're making you a regular. We're making you a regular. That's it. Regular, add, what is Kiss? You're in. You're back in. Ooh. Sir, you can post links. You can post links. You are love. Lots of fiber, making you regular. Yes. No apologies. It's just that people who are not regulars, they don't, because we don't want like randos coming in like posting links to sketch-tasticness. That's all. In the scheme of the universe, we are like insects. No, we are smaller than insects. They are like tiny specks of dust on the feet of insects. No, in fact, we are like subatomic particles in the dust on the tiny insect's feet. Well, you get the point. There have been countless universes before ours, and there'll be countless after. It is sad that we are here to witness the end, but it also marks a new beginning for another universe. This is Aya's way. It is her design. Who are we to intervene in that? I'm the hero. I'm gonna intervene. That's what I'm gonna do. Hey now, Wanderer. You gonna climb this mountain? I like chilling with these monks, but like, I might try climbing too. Like, maybe like I'll see up there. Seems things just get worse and worse these days, Are you like scared about the world ending? Yeah? Tell the truth, I'm too. It's hard not to be scared, especially for the things you can't control. Well, if you can't control it, there's like no point to be scared, is there? But the scary thing is, what if you can control it and like you aren't, I really think we're connected, Wanderer. Like everywhere I go, like you're there too. That's not nothing. You ever notice how like sometimes like an idea will come to like many people, like around the same time? Have you ever felt that when like someone shares their thoughts, like oh, like I was just like thinking about that too. It's like that, Wanderer. We're all connected by like threads, visible and invisible. And I think like the whole world is like, like thinking together, like even when we don't know it. I don't believe in like coincidences because like I clearly have read Jung and I'm like into the idea of synchronicity, man. It's like a particle, it's like a wave. All the big things in the universe, they're just like, made of like small things put together. And like those small things are made like
of even smaller things. It's like, it's impossible to understand everything, you know, but like to understand something big, you know, you gotta like understand, you know, like small things it's made of. The crazy thing is, like, the whole universe is just like, it's like, you know, it's like one like big thing. It's made of all the small things together. And that's why, like, even the tiniest, smallest thing, like the feeling when like you tell someone like I love you, can tell you something big about the whole universe. Synecdoche. Whoa.
Like, your turn, my turn. Like, I think I know this guy. I think you do too. Yes. Yes. Oh, Tripper, says Atomica. I almost forgot. I need RP help. I need the name of a jazz swing viola player you can study. You want to, in real life, like you want to study a real life jazz swing viola player. Okay, I can give you a bunch of jazz swing violin players, but viola players are a little bit trickier. But I knew some people actually in person who did some jazz viola. By the way, we're gonna ask Nightbot who the winner is for our giveaway for today. And so I need to think about that because I know some people, like, who's playing jazz viola. You want something that you can actually have recordings of. I'm gonna think about that. Suddenly these old folks remind me of that one Waiting for the End of the World, Wear Purple Sneakers, Drink. Oh yeah. Heaven's Gate. This is a very different character than another voice would be. I solved it. You are not Lala. You are Melkor. You are learning the Song of Creation to burn Ea. Ooh, from Reset the Universe. Yes, I like that. By the way, Nightbot, who's the winner chicken dinner of our like, there's a lot more jazz violin, although again, not as much as you would think. But I'm gonna think on that one. Caldrake. Hey, Caldrake, you know what that means, right? That means that you win, Caldrake. You win. I'm going to be sending you right now a whisper, awesome Caldrake, with the code for the game. So I'm gonna just send it to you. Congratulations. I'm very excited for this. Here you go. I've sent it to you right now. And also, look how productive I'm being. I feel like it's all productivity all the time. And everyone is proud of me. If you're open to contemporary classical, the lady from Bond is fantastic, as is the group. Oh yeah. I do like contemporary, but he wants. I'm really into weird stuff, all the stuff. But jazz. Here's the thing. I think I know some jazz viola players in person. I just need to figure out who. Because I can tell you, like, Stefan Grappelli would be like a violin player. Because there are a bunch of sort of jazz violin players. Ooh. This is going to be, I think, a little bit tricky. I got it. Yes. So, I'm getting music, everybody. This makes me concerned. Because this music is a little like, listen to this music. So we're getting strings. Strings do different kinds of things. This is not the scary horror music strings. This is all right. If you hear these two strings together with the kind of intervals, this is clearly like wanting to evoke folk music, but also this is kind of like folk music strings. So it's supposed to sound a little nostalgic and old, but there's also something a little bit melancholy about it. So we're kind of getting melancholy, but like the people. Just so you know. I have a halfling villa player whose game starts in January. She's gonna be playing jazz with Death at his nightclub, and I want some writing inspiration. All right, I'm gonna tell you, jazz viola is a little bit difficult, but it is doable. It's kind of rare. It's a tad rare, but it is doable. Also, this jump is actually kind of hard. There we go. Got it. There's a lot of wash. Do you think I can walk on this? Oh, so I have an idea, but I think I might have messed it up. The mess up. I think I might have messed it up. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I don't know. Life is hard for the serfs. It is. So I think I need to do, what's happening here, everybody? Something weird's happening, everybody. I'm a little concerned. If it was rare... oh, hello. If it wasn't rare, would I be seeking your counsel? You never know. People seek counsel for all sorts of reasons. Ooh, okay. Okay, we're freeing this thing with music. Also, why is everything pixelating? And I'm very concerned that I'm doing a bad thing, but it's fine. Woo! Hey! Hi! Oh! Oh! Woo! Oh! Oh, no! Wait! Oh! I am summoning a demon, and I'm a little concerned about... Here, okay, hold on. Cowboy, take me away. You can do it. Take me away, cowboy. Oh. Thanks, bird. Thanks. I'm concerned that something really bad's gonna happen in this game. Oh, hey, it's another bird. Please take me up there. Thank you. Ooh. This game. Okay. I kind of see what we're doing now. We're doing a little bit of mysteriousness, but we got it. We are on our way. We're gonna be super productive, and it's fine. Unknown armies. Let's see what we can do. Oh. Okay, so that wasn't it. That wasn't it, everyone. You're going to win, and in winning, doom the universe to stagnation. That's probably true, actually. No, I think you're probably right about that. Like, the question is Lala even correct in what they're wanting to do? Like, is this even a good choice? You know what I mean? Like, there's some questions about this. I have some questions. Oh. Okay. Huh. Where are you taking me? I didn't want to go there. Oh my goodness. So I need to figure out what we're gonna do here. Can you take me over this way? Can you? Okay, all right, there we go. Oh. Yeah. So, in Unknown Armies, the game, which I've yet to GM, and I'm got to tell you, this is a game, Unknown Armies is a game, an RPG, that I really am fascinated by, intrigued by. I want to run it. I am just having a hard time figuring out how to do that. There's a number of things that I think are going to be challenging about running Unknown Armies, and I have not yet figured that out. and this is a real challenge for me. Because I really want to run it. Like, I really, really do. Huh. And the thing that I think, like, although maybe the third edition, the new edition, will actually be better in making running the game. Can I tell you, like, seriously, I have thoughts about Unknown Armies, and a thing that I find very unsatisfying about the game historically. I feel like you're gonna pop me out. Oh, there we go. So the game is this really, like, very interesting mechanics, interesting world, very fascinating. The game itself, the RPG, and basically this is the story of the world. I think I can multitask and tell you while I do this. Monster. Is the unsatisfying how no, the unsatisfying. The Union is going to find this mountain climbing lark tougher than he expected. So, in Unknown Armies, the world is created, and there is one man, or one person, I suppose you could say, the Comte de Saint-Georges. The Comte de Saint-Germain is the first man. I apparently am going to be releasing the Doom Swarm. Oh, hello. Take me, cowboy. Yeah. No, somebody. Okay. There's the first. Where are we going? I don't know where we're going, but all evil eyes in the distance. Where's Maynard? Like, I want to know. Oh, hey. So this is what happens. The world is created, and there is the first man, the Comte de Saint-Germain, and in the beginning there are no gods. There is nothing. There's just the Comte de Saint-Germain is the first one, and there are people, and well, it might be the villain actually, and the people will spend, sort of in that Jungian way, spend energy thinking about archetypes they think are really valuable and important. And when a person embodies that archetype that the humanity is imagining as being important, is getting a lot of energy into, perfectly, in the most perfect way, they ascend into godhood, into the celestial chorus. So in the beginning of the world, in the very beginning of the world, a bunch of archetypes ascend pretty quickly, like the mother, the father, the soldier, the messenger, the crone, the warrior, like the true king. All of these things are the early ones that sort of develop over time. And then as society goes on and things become a bit more fractured, it's a little bit harder to get people to ascend to godhood. But every person that ascends to godhood influences what the world itself is like. So if the first person, who is the mother and the father, those first two people are kind of horrible people, then the world becomes a little bit more horrible. And so as society, like, we are all shaped by what gods have ascended. And when you hit 113, that's probably not the right number. I cannot remember the actual number, but once you get 113 gods, let's say, then the world is destroyed completely, because then the Comte de Saint-Germain comes back, the world is destroyed, and then remade based on who was in the celestial chorus. So if your society has ascended archetypes such as the serial killer, the mobster, the corruptor, or whatever, right? Then the new world is not going to be a really great world. And so there's this cosmic thing that's happening in the game, Unknown Armies, where, you know, maybe you want to stop people from ascending so the world doesn't end. Maybe you want someone else to take over from, because like if somebody embodies a new idea of the concept, a more relevant idea of the archetype than the old archetype, and they do it really well enough, they can take over. And yeah, that's basically, Krellin, that's it. If a more perfect mother comes along, that more perfect mother can oust the old mother and then take over as the new mother. And that more perfect mother might be like more of what our understanding of the mother is now, right? So you can replace people in the celestial choir. They're going to probably want to try to stop you because they usually don't want to lose their power. But they will, they will try. So like, are your characters trying to stop people from ascending? Are they trying to replace somebody? Are they trying to ascend themselves? The first man has a French royal title. I think it's because there was like a person within, that's what we call that person. I think it's because there was a mysterious person, like if you're like into like conspiracy theories or weirdness, I think there's a figure called the Comte de Saint-Germain, which is supposed to be kind of weird or strange or like unknown or something. But then there's also magic. There are people who have magic, and people who have magic are people who basically lost their minds because they obsess over something. This is very Jungian in certain ways. Like they obsess over something so desperately that they then get control over it. That they sort of like lose their grip on reality, so they get this now control through this thing. Like, and maybe it's money, or maybe it's pain, or maybe it's alcohol, or maybe it's sex, or maybe it's violence, or maybe it's freedom, or like there's some kind of a thing, right, that they sort of obsess over. No, freedom probably wouldn't work. Well, maybe it could. And like that's probably actually hard. History. Right, and you obsess over these things, and then if you obsess and you do these things well, you can gain power through your obsession, and then you can use that power to manipulate reality a little bit. Is there a mechanic that helps push anti-types, like super evil world discourages the hero, very chaotic world encourages the judge, super lawful world encourages the bandit? Well, it's basically that conceptually, if the world's a dark place, okay, so for example, if the world is a dark place, and everybody, I'm going to use a political example. I don't know what your feelings are, but it's going to be a political example that you can sort of imagine. Let's say that the police officer, let's say that the very first person that the police officer is a type that we have invested enough energy into as a society. And the first person who ascended was like the friendly beat cop who helps the kid cross the street or whatever, you know what I mean? And that's the person who embodied that person the best, and then they get powers associated with that. That person today is not what our collective subconscious thinks a cop is going to be. And so who we now think, now a person who's going to be much less kind is going to be the person who's more likely to oust that person who was like the old Bobby, right? The old Bobby. And the person now is going to be a less friendly person. And that being where our collective subconscious is going to impact the world now. So now cops are going to be less good because that is now what our collective subconscious has ascended a person into that space. And that space, right? Like you can imagine now maybe some really corrupt, terrible cop has ascended into the invisible clergy. And now they are now influencing the world we're in, making all cops now more corrupt, right? And so if you don't want that to happen, you want to maybe get that person out, right? You want to get that person out of there and replace it with a different person, but it's going to be harder to do so because the collective unconscious doesn't believe that. So it's like really hard work to supplant a god. It's not easy. Yeah, that's right. 332. Thank you. The comp being the 333rd. Yes. Hey, Vulpes. Thank you, Krellin. And I love this setting. I love the thought behind it. But there are some problems that frustrated me. Two main things. One, and these things are related. And the 2.5, whatever. One is I was just talking about the RPG Unknown Armies, which is this amazingly cool world with really cool mechanics. The character creation is really cool, and I have never run it because I've never figured out how to run it. And the two big main troubles is that it's a lot of an info dump for players. Like if I had players who are lore hounds, then I think it would be easier because then you can you can bust out the lore and they'd be like, okay, cool. But some players don't want to know lore. They just want to start playing a game, and it's really like with the French Resistance didn't actually involve a lot of info dump. I was like, it's the French Resistance, World War II, Paris. We're at this time period, and people kind of like a general sense. But like the bigger the lore dump, the trickier it is to bring in new players who are not lore hounds. So that's a little bit tricky. So the lore dump is always a little bit like, how do you sort of introduce this lore dump? And the thing is, you can always do the thing where the characters don't know anything yet, but to really get access to being a Godwalker or like a mage, you kind of need to know that backstory a little bit. I talked to a whole bunch of people. But the thing is, I really do want to run it. I really, really do. I think it could be very cool, but I don't yet know how. I need to reread it, because maybe if I reread it, it will make more sense to me now that I've read more. But the other problem, and this was like a problem that I really, like, this was a real problem for me in terms of as a publisher, their publication strategy. They came out with the main book. They came out with some general supplement books, like, more magic, more etc. Right? Oh, that's good. But they didn't come out with adventures. And I was like, I'm having a hard time conceptualizing what a campaign would be like in this game, in this world. And they came out with none of which I brought with me, but I have them in hard copy. Weep and One Shots, which were anthologies of one shots. So they had these books of adventures, but they were all one shots, all super conceptual and things that do not continue on. Like, they're not one shots that afterwards you would continue playing. Like, I could not sandbox out of those at all, because they're very like, you're playing three aspects of one person, and in the end it all is destroyed. Like the one shots were not going to be jumping off points for springboards for a campaign. And then they finally came out with a campaign to sort of give me a sense of what this might be like. But it was a joke campaign. It wasn't a joke campaign. It was like, so basically the game itself it's like a game of like transcendental horror. It's like a horror game. It's internal. And the thing is, I love character work, and there's so much character work built into this game. Like, the entire character, it's like these really interesting madness meters about like isolation and fear and violence. Like, I'm just saying that you could do some amazing character driven work in this game. I can see that it can happen. Like, the game's mechanics really lend itself to doing exactly the kind of thing I want to do, but I couldn't conceive of how the game would work yet, how I would do it. And they've got all these different factions that exist in the world, and there's one faction that's kind of jokey, and that's Mac Attacks. And they're like these kind of like supernatural stoners that all work at McDonald's, and they put like a little bit of supernatural energy in each Big Mac, and it's like super jokey or like weird. It's kind of like tonally a little bit different from the rest of the tone, which is kind of serious and a little abstract and absurd and interesting. And that was the campaign book they made. So I've never really gotten a handle of exactly how to run a campaign in Unknown Armies, but I really think that I could do the stuff that I really love in Unknown Armies. I just have not wrapped my head around it yet. I need to read the third edition, which I also have, but I haven't read that one yet, to see if they have found a way to sort of inspire me to do it. I don't know. I've got to I really want to crack that. Like, that's a nut that I want to crack. That is a thing that I really, really, really want to figure out how to do, because it seems very interesting. Yeah. I want to play in a Trooper game, but he streams and I don't have a camera. Also, I'm only a 10th as coolest ever. Hey, we don't, you never know. First off, you never know, Krellin, where my life will lead me, because there are some things that I want to do. So you don't know. Degenesis is the same thing. Super interesting ideas, but to try and run play it makes my head hurt. And the thing is, I really feel like I should be able to crack this. Like, I really feel like I should be able to figure out how to do it. And that I have not figured it out yet vexes me to no end. And I really want to, like, the fact that I haven't figured out how to run a campaign in this yet is something that is very vexing. I have to crack this problem. I have to. Rissa says, Krellin, maybe you can be a guinea pig for one of his future games that's one player, one GM. I've never streamed, but he has let me enjoy the experience of being Jim. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Trooper is now on my RPG DM bucket list. Wow. I'm also only maybe... Krellin, I think you're cool, Krellin. Hey now, Wanderer.
You did good finding me here. Do you feel it? This place, it's got like, you know, like this like vibe going on. It's trying to like tell us something. It's telling us, you know, it's time to dance. Relax, Wanderer, let the dance in.
You know, Jer, ooh, I got a new dance. Dap. The thing that PB did, by the way, is that she,
Beautiful dance, Wanderer. Carry it with you on your journey. Show the world the dance that lives inside you.
the thing about PB though, is that PB didn't actually, she used the system, but she didn't run it in the world. She created her own world and she did her own thing. So she didn't actually, she ran using the mechanics of Unknown Armies, but she didn't use the world. And what she did was amazing. She also created an ARG. It was brilliant. It was amazing. PB is like a genius. And amazing. And like, I'm in awe of her. And I have to tell you a secret. I am gonna tell you a secret. I want to thank you for that. And I'm going to tell you the secret first. And then I'm going to sing the bit song. Hey, Tech Priest. It's a colony far away from Earth that the colonists begin to ascend to a new pantheon. Oh, that's really interesting, Blade Smoker. Oh. Volpa says, I'm in my happy place. The new folklore Kickstarter came today, so it's token punch out in time. Ooh, nice. But she might have some pointers. Okay, look. So here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to sing this bit song, but first I have to tell you a secret. Are you ready for the secret? Guess what? Pumpkinberry. Enjoy the ad bits. They were mined with the utmost disinterest from the Twitch mine. Oh, I'm there, iShield. Oh, I hope ads have not come in during our stream. I don't know if they have or not, but I hope they haven't because I hate that. Sorry. Pumpkinberry is going to be one of the 2 guests in episode 4. Brick Talks mug! Oh, I'm so excited. Yeah. Pumpkinberry is going to be one of our guest stars for episode 4 of City of Light and Shadow. We've got 2 guest stars, and Pumpkinberry is one. And she's playing somebody very excited. Yeah! I haven't seen you except when I first tuned in. Look, I'm telling you. Do you want to know who she's playing? Do you want to know who she's playing? If I tell you, you can't tell any of the players. Yes. Right. So I'm going to tell you. She's going to play the same character as she did in Night Witches, and no, she's not. That would be so cool if she was playing Anasova. No. She's playing. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? I'm just going to tell you. Marcus, Drunkly Romantic, Best Kind of Worst, is our other guest star. So it's going to be Drunkly Romantic and Pumpkinberry coming in as guests in episode 4 because Stiver and Grimjack can't make it that week, so we're bringing them in. And Stiver's not going to be there, so that won't be useful. I think the mid-roll ads would be better if they gave the view some of the revenue in the form of bits. Huh. I just don't want... Here's the thing about that mid-roll. I can put an ad break in right now if I want to. I can just press a button and I can do it. And they said, we're doing this for the streamer. Don't put an ad break in if I don't want an ad break in there. If I want to do one, I will do one. You've given me the tools so that I can put one in there if I want to. And you said, this is for me. I don't want you interrupting my RPGs with your ads. Like, that's how I feel. That's not what I want. That is what I'm saying. Yeah, I know, but Tango and Oscar are not going to be there for episode 4, so it's going to be Sylvie and Regina, and so I'm going to tell you. Are you ready? This is why your deadline for the radios is episode 4, because he's playing Dex Raymond. Marcus is playing the pilot, and Pumpkinberry is playing Ophelia. Dex Sherman is dead by 1941. He is. Yeah. So Pumpkinberry is playing Ophelia. Dot doesn't know yet. And she's going to be delivering the radios personally. So however many radios, but right now I know from our donations that we have 3 radios, so I know that 3 radios are coming. So we're going to get Pumpkinberry as Ophelia, bringing in the 3 radios with our pilot, Marcus, who's going to be our daring pilot's going to bring these radios in. So I hope we can get all 5 radios, and I'm just saying that so excited. Fair enough. Just thought it would be better buy-in if the viewer could get more of a feel that free financial incentive. Yeah, but like, you know, you're not even. I don't think you come back as a good guy if you get resurrected in Cthulhu. Krellin is probably correct. 74%. No, I'm good. I'm good. Thanks. So I think we're gonna have to go the other way. Yeah. So all I'm saying, everybody. And how is what's gonna happen? Let's go. Oh, okay. I almost died there, everybody. Take me, cowboy, take me away. Oh. Whew. I think I need to go this way. But I want to see Sylvie interact with Stiver's ex-wife. As far as I know, Stiver doesn't. As far as I know, there is no ex-wife. As far as I know. Oh, somebody help me! Somebody save me! Oh, somebody! Oh, come on! Birds! 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 Oh, come on! Birds! Birds! Come on, birds! Birds! Oh, bird! Bird! Oh, okay. Bird! Okay. Bird. Bird's the word. Mark is going to be the dumb redneck pilot who thought he was in love with the mouse. No, he's an RAF pilot. That dumb redneck pilot was actually in the Canadian Air Force, and this guy's RAF. These birds are so dramatic, right? How does one... Hawkeye, what a great question. How does one help with the radio acquisition? That is a great question. So we have extra credit, this little red check mark in the bottom of our screen. And if you click on that, on the red check mark, because you earn that just from being here, hanging out with us, the extra credit. And if you open up the little thing, there's a bar where we're 74% raised for the wireless radio. So if you click on it, you should be able to give the bits. That's how you can do it. And the thing is, and I actually think this is really good because these radios are hard to come by. Oh, community challenge, 75% complete. Yes. Oh, not bits. That's right. Extra credit. Thank you. And these radios are hard to come by. And doing like, you know, so like they got to do some work to get London to sort of send them over. And we will see how we go. Oh, time of gifts. Thank you. You are helping Bricktop's Brigade. Our players get these radios, which will be very important for them. And it will help them. And, you know, I have to talk to them about rewriting one of their group aspects if they get these radios. If they get all the radios, then I think they should be able to rewrite one of their aspects, one of their group aspects, which will give them a bonus when they're doing radio stuff. So I think that'll be really good. Ooh, thank you, Chromatic Chameleon. Oh, I've not done it in the mobile. Mr. Monster, wow, I can't believe it's you. Do you live in this cave now? Can I come through? Oh. Oh. Now I have the Carl the Intern's song from Phineas and Ferb stuck in my head. Evil for extra credit. Yes.
And they were not doing themselves any favors last episode. They were not. And they won that battle, though. So so that's better for them. They've bought themselves some time, but how do you think I get in here? Can I? Hello? Will you let me in? No? No, Atomica. So how do you think I get in here? Oh, hi, bird. Oh. There's a bird. Hello. Oh. Oh. The bird loves me. Oh. Oh. Bird loves me. Hi, monster. Where are we going? Oh. Oh. Oh! Thanks! What are all these flying things? What do you think these are? Oh! 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 Thank you, monster! Thank you, monster. Falstaff is not London. Falstaff is not London, but Falstaff is one of the main reporters to London. Oh, thank you, monster. And Falstaff has, oh. And Falstaff has sway. So they need to, oh. I wanted to jump over it. Sorry. Yo, he's cool. All right. Yeah, so they just need to, they really need to, they need it. Oh, yeah, no, don't step on them. Frederick II of Hohenstaufen was still Holy Roman Emperor. I wanted to do a postgraduate research. Oh, that's interesting. I will just say, time of gifts. What do we love? We love research. You know what? I don't even want to hurt a fly, or whatever these things are. These strange flying creatures. Yeah. We're gonna try. What? Sometimes I don't want to jump with my left thumb. I want to jump with my right thumb. Cave bugs. Clan of the cave bugs? Oh, nope. Okay, we're gonna have to go with my other hand. Whoop. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're gonna get Ophelia and a smuggler pirate. We're gonna get them. We're gonna get them on session 4, and I'm excited. Clan of the cave bug. She wears a yes, that is exactly what happened. She wears carapace clothing. It's Clan of the cave bug. Trooper, given the audience are London, I think we get our information from Ophelia and Falstaff does not have sway. Well, see, they both have sway, right? They both have sway in their own way. Oops. So they both have some kind of sway. At the moment, it has been balanced in that, in the moment it has been, hey, Sea Spider, in the moment it has been balanced because Falstaff, spoiler, was not saying kind things, but Ophelia was. Ophelia was saying good things, and that was right. And the work that they did, their successes, all of that was enough to, all that was enough. That was enough to get them good. But Falstaff is actually, Falstaff is not somebody he's not exclusively, he's not,
Oh, that's gonna be a problem. He's not completely unreasonable. He's not completely unreasonable. And if you do what needs to be done, he will work with you. Like he can work with people, and they did a good job saving that big problem they had. Krellin. I'm gonna put that. Oh, Krellin. Oh, Krellin. Oh, Krellin. Falstaff showed up last episode, and they did not handle that very well. And they did not handle it very well, is all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But, it's, you don't care about spoilers. So I worry with these guys that may have won this battle, but they may lose the war if they can't control their antagonists at Falstaff. That is a worry that I also have. Volpez. When will they start dealing with the Gaul and the Free French Army? So right now it's 1941. And it's still a little bit too early. He can work with people who don't try and stab him. That's true. He can. He can work with people who don't try to stab him. Oops. So it's a little bit...
In the money.
Oh! It's a little bit early. Void Smoker, I want to thank you for that. And you know what this means. This is in case Void Smoker, thank you. I will note that. This is in case you're unable to catch tomorrow's episode live. And I'm gonna, so the thing is that we started, this is 1941 and it's actually still very early in the war. De Gaulle and they haven't yet, the resistance hasn't yet gotten really organized just yet. They're not fully well developed. The larger coordination hasn't happened. And what's interesting is that as our group, Bricktop, start getting more, how do I put this? Falstaff in some ways represents the opening up of larger communications that is going to sort of lead into sort of bringing in with de Gaulle and the Free French and all that. So like all these things are developing. They're not helping is what I'm trying to tell you. They're not helping at all. They're not helping. So Krellin, among other visitors, Falstaff was a visitor last night because he got a message that they wanted radios, that they wanted to talk to him. So he came to go and see what they wanted from him. How am I going to get over this? And, as he's kind of a jerk, do you know what I mean? And he was there being skeptical of their desires to speak with him. He was like, why do you want to speak with me? I don't think I want to speak with you. I'm not very excited about this. What's going on? What do you need? And they're like, we need radios. And we need 5 radios. And he was like, you need 5, like, because his point was like, hey, radios are really hard to come by. They have to be brought in person, right, by plane, and it has to be a plane that lands because they're too delicate to be on just an airdrop. You want 5 radios for your circle of people that. He's like, you want 5 radios for people that you, Regina, have trained who are not SOE trained. They're not people that I know. You want these really, like, this is like a big ask, and I don't have proof that you all are worth it, basically, right? He's, 5 radios require how many people? They're gonna have to do it by plane, right? It has to be done by plane. It's like basically this ask is a huge, it's a big ask that is logistically difficult. And you know what, though? It's Falstaff's job to win them over. You can't wage asymmetric war without being tolerant of some sketchy operators. But the thing is, he is responsible. He's a courier for more than one cell. Lots and lots and lots of cells. He knows many cells, and many of them might also like radios. Why should he go and do a whole big thing to coordinate to get radios to this group when there are other groups that need radios too? A group that stabbed him in the face with a broken bottle, right? Like, they stabbed him in the face with a broken bottle, and he has some problems trusting them a little bit. Also, he's a little bit of a bigot, right? So like, why? And there's some questions about this, right? So he's like, why should I give this to you? And he made some comments that were a little bit triggering to the rest of the group. And what happened, Krellin, is that, what happened was that Sylvie started talking smack, as she does. She started saying very rude things in ways that were very antagonistic that he did not appreciate. He was not happy with what she had to say. And so he made some comments that were sexist. And then Tango decided to punch him in the face because he was not going to have this guy saying sexist things. He was not going to have it. He was like, nope, not, right? So he decides to be super antagonistic, punch him in the face. Regina at this point in time realizes that that they need to stop antagonizing him, is what she realized. So she she got a fate point. Oh, she did. Fate point forgotten. And so Regina steps in and she takes the punch for Falstaff as like a sorry. And what ends up happening is that they go into social combat, right? They go into sort of verbal combat. They go into verbal combat where our team's goal, because he's like, okay, that's it, right? Like, I'm out of here. Like, I'm not working with you people. You are unprofessional. You are attacking your own people. You are dangerous. You are not people, like, he's like, no, I'm done with you all. That's it. And so his goal was to, like, basically, he's just going to leave. He's like, I'm out of here. But they went into, like, a social combat to try and convince him to stay. So they were going to try to convince him to stay. And he was going to try to get out. He was going to try to leave. And so there was like a big old social combat, and they actually won that. It was not an easy combat. They were like, wait, his will is what? His provoke is what? But they actually were able to get him to concede, and they gave him a consequence wherein and it involved Sylvie actually opening up and telling some truths about herself that she's not really shared with anyone before. And some bonding moments happened, and they gave. And they gave him a consequence that said, "Oh, what is this? Oh." And they gave him a consequence that meant that he's giving them, he's going to give them that he gave them a consequence and there you go. So they gave him a consequence, which meant that he no longer, he's giving them a little bit of a benefit of the doubt is what I'm going to try to tell you, right? Just a little bit of that. And so they did a really good social battle that went well for them. And he now he's given them, like, he's basically, they're on a little bit of thin ice, but he is going to basically, he's decided he's going to sort of work with them, give them a bit of a chance, right? Some good arguments were made. So basically, it was like a little interesting combat that happened, and that's what happened. Ooh. Ooh. I'm doing a lot. The tiny sparks from La Ville Solemne de l'Automne. Longest. The bugs love it. They do love me. Hey, Courier 3. I'm late, but more play. I'm here. Hello. Yeah, so it was like we got the conversational combat. And what I thought was really great about the conversational combat was that, you can create these consequences. And the consequence they created was that he will he will. They've built a little bit of begrudging respect and trust from him, basically, right? He will. He's like, all right, you know, I will. What he said was, I will see what I can do. I will see what I can do. I will see. I will see what I can do about London. So that was good. Social combat is probably the best thing about Fate. It was good. But I think it wasn't just that for me. It wasn't just the social combat. It was also the. How is this gonna work? Here we go. Hello, my friend. It's like it's not just the social combat by itself. It's also the ways in which since they don't have damage, what instead you're hoping is that you can get people, like you can convince people, you can give them an aspect which means they're maybe more trusting, or there's something really cool about the ways in which the social combat in Fate, well, not but the way that the aspect system in Fate can give you outcomes other than just like, oh, you've worn down their will. Do you know what I mean? Like in a lot of other systems that do social combat, the way that social combat works is basically, oh no, they no longer have any will, and ta-da, you know, and like that's not as exciting, I'm gonna say. Yes. Thank you, Trooper, for the humble bundle. Sorry, I had to run upstairs. Oh, no worries. Whether or not, I just realized Regina's ambiguous flirting is going to become very real with Ophelia coming to town. And also, she kind of maybe has a girlfriend right now. So that'll be interesting. Oh, what are we gonna do? I mean, that the combat mechanics don't really differentiate between physical. Yeah, no, Krillin, I think that is so cool. And Fate manages successfully really well. And I love a good social, me too. And I love the ways in which what can I do with you? What can I do with you? This does not seem to be getting me where I want to go. What can I do with you? Can I join you all up together into like a big, huge one? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. So let me just move you over here a little bit. Let me just move you over here. And I think I'm being super awesome right now. Yeah. Yes. Joint bug tower. Like, I don't have to defeat the Nazis by shooting them. I can defeat them by shooting the catwalk so that it collapses and they can't get me. Yes. I don't think I've ever had many conversations that end in total victory for either conversant. Maybe. Right. And in the end, what it is that he's like, okay, for this time period you've got me a little bit for now. Well, I seem to be at a little bit of an impasse, don't I? Let's see what we can do. Oh, actually, I don't think this is going to be that hard. Maybe? Yeah, this will be fine. Right? I think it's this. I think, whoa. Oh, you know what I think I'm gonna do? I think I'm gonna collect a bunch of these bugs, like oodles of bugs is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna have all the bugs all the time, I think. Yeah. I can defeat I can defeat Nazis by calling the allies and having them get surrounded. Yeah, and I'm really excited for the moments when the players get even more adventurous with their aspects. I think they're getting there, but I think I'm excited for the day when they really, really like get into the ways in which they can do those things, and I think they're going to get there. And so I'm excited about that. I'm excited about I'm excited to see them really develop their fate skills, right? Their really good fate abilities to really use aspects more what's the word? Pardon me. Nope. Nope. More creatively. I still hate Falstaff, that's fine. Duchnov really needs to weigh their successes against his chauvinism. These women have done more to thwart the Nazis than he has, and he needs to take a fucking chill pill on his sexism. He's sexist. He's sexist, and he's also classist, and he's a nationalist, right, in a way that's like he's not a great person. He's okay. Yes. Well, okay. Well, yeah. He's Prax, and not only is he British, he's like an upper class Oxford British dude of the old school. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's that guy. He's a guy that has had so much privilege and really does believe that if you are upper class, you're just better. Right? Like, you have better breeding, you're a better person. You know, like, that's really his mindset. He's that person. Like, he's a person that, like, would be in the House of Lords and has the old boys network, you know, all up in his face in a big, massive, giant way. He's that guy. He's 100% that jerk. He's literally the worst handler they could have, which I did on purpose. Maybe. He's a product of his time in many ways, and to be the courier, he has to have balls of steel. That's true. It's true. No, it was definitely an accident. Okay, well, yes. Did I do it on purpose? I did. But also, the thing is, I was reading some stuff, and there were people just like him, and my family's money is older than your filthy new money. Yeah. And I really wanted to, there was a thing that it's Bricktops. It's Bricktops. Bricktops. And the thing is that this was actually a tension in the SOE, which I thought was really interesting historically, that the SOE had a bunch of these kind of like old money British dudes, who out of which James Bond was basically modeled in these certain ways. And they had all of this power and influence. And some of them were military, some of them were not, but they had this whole kind of like, they had this whole thing, but they, you know, they got a lot of their spots because they were very privileged. But then there were sometimes working class people who would get these jobs, and refugees who would get these jobs, who would also get into the SOE. So the SOE has like this superstructure of really privileged upper class British twits, dudes. And then all these other people, women, you know, Polish refugees, all these other people who are on the ground and like doing work. And there was a lot of tension between these two different sort of groups of people in terms of who got support, how they got support, also how the rest of the British government and military saw the SOE. The rest of the British military and government didn't think the SOE was anything. They're like, you're a bunch of trash, because like, you've got women working with you. Who are you? Like, they were sort of giving gross stuff to the SOE. So these British upper class dudes were like pushing back in weird ways. And it was like this really sort of complicated dance that was historically happening. Like, that was a thing that was happening. And Falstaff have the money to go to officer school, it makes him better. Yeah. And one of the things that I thought was interesting is that this is a true thing, right? This is a historical truth. And Bricktops, and this is a thing, just like pondering this out, like Bricktops, the players of Bricktops probably have some, yes. No, they did. They had Mughals and Hindus. They had Nur Inayat Khan was an Indian princess. She was Muslim. She was the very first Muslim to get like the Croix de Guerre, and she got trained by the SOE. She was French Indian Muslim. She was actually sort of like Indian nobility. She grew up in France, the invasion happened. She went to England, got trained by the SOE, came back, and did all this work. She's just like amazing, one of these amazing heroines of this. Like, there's such amazing people who did this stuff. And like people like her were there. You know, like there were all these various people who did all these things, and there's this sort of tension. And Falstaff is out in the field risking his neck. He is. This was true up through the 60s until half of the Oxford graduates turned out to be Soviet spies, brought it. Yes. There was that whole spy scandal that happened out of the Oxford Soviet spy scandal. It was amazing. Oh my gosh. There were like, this is part of what I do in my spy. I have this class about 1960s spies in media and music. And I talk a lot about like the anxiety that James Bond is really about British anxiety for their loss of empire in many ways, and also like their embarrassment in the spy scandal, their embarrassment when a couple of their important MPs were actually having sex with prostitutes who were actually also Soviet spies. Like England was not in a good space, and so like they end up sort of like making up for it in these really interesting ways through their spy media. Very fascinating. Anyway. The SU was also out on the Japanese front too. Yes, they were. They went everywhere. They were like as much as they could do. They did, like, it's really amazing. Pitch for the spinoff of City of Light and Shadow, the Polish Free Army and their bear that fight Nazis. Oh, their bear was amazing. But so here's what was interesting, right? So the group that the players that we made, right, were a German, 2 Americans, and a Afro-French guy. This is a no Brits, right? So no Brits. This is like an SOE operation, but no Brits. And this is a weird group of people, right? For a network, the SOE that really valued their British stiff upper lip people over other people, this group. And also, a lot of the Brits also didn't like the Free French. They didn't like de Gaulle, and they didn't like the Free French. They didn't trust them. Like, so there's like a lot of tensions between a lot of these groups. And so this group that they had nobody that Falstaff would like. And also, it was a group that you'd think, well, this is a weird group in certain ways. And so having Falstaff be Falstaff made a lot of sense in terms of challenging them, but also representing some of the tensions of history. But I want you to know that there are other tensions of history that are going to be coming out this season, right? There are certain things that we didn't do last season because they didn't make sense yet, but they're going to make sense now. There are now there are other tensions that are going to happen. Just as the way in which the SS, the Gestapo, the German military intelligence had tensions between them, the army and the SS. Like, there are a lot of tensions were happening on that side. There were also tensions happening on the resistance side, which played itself out in these kind of complicated ways. And now that we're in July, some of these tensions are going to happen now, which means there are going to be more people coming in, more NPCs coming in at this point in time that are going to sort of help highlight some of these tensions, and then also give our players some difficulty to sort of deal with, I think. Yeah. Good thing that scandal lasted and the UK government didn't facilitate child prostitution later. Right. Yeah. Trooper, you just hate it when the soup sits. You know, but I want them to there's some history that I want to come out. Like, there's some historical dimensions that I want to happen. And there are a couple of things that haven't happened yet that I really need to put into this game. Historically, there's some certain, like, there are basically some factions that I've not yet really introduced. Some of them I've foreshadowed, but I've not yet introduced. I've got foreshadowing for some of these groups, but I've not introduced them fully yet. And I want that to happen because it's important. There's some nuances, and the more factions that they have to deal with, the more choices that they have, and I want to know what they're going to do with those choices, and so that'll be really interesting. Yes, but Falstaff also has to shape up several other cells around Paris and the countryside. Imagine some are not as sharp as Bricktops. So he's got to be frustrated. He is frustrated. He's very frustrated, and like, he's even more frustrated right now, not because of Bricktops, but because of other things. And so, you know, there's a lot, and also, I mean, I have to. What groups have been foreshadowed? Ice Shield, the communists, because now that Germany has invaded the Soviet Union, now the communists are going to get involved in the resistance. And that's because basically historically the communists, most of the communists weren't really weren't involved in the resistance up in the very, very early moment until after the invasion happened. And then they came in like gangbusters. So now the communists are a cell, are a faction to deal with. We still have criminals as a faction to deal with. They're kind of like low level lurking. their engagement is going to be a little bit tricky. So like we have criminals, we have like, because there were some serious criminals, we have the communists are now going to be a thing. I have foreshadowed the gendarmerie as being a thing that might become an issue. So they're out there in the gendarmerie, the French collaborationists, right? The French Vichy French. They are also an issue, and they're around. So like there are a bunch of different groups that are. There are also some other groups that I have not yet foreshadowed that are going to have to come up as well. To make sense. There's certainly that's for how history is going to work. So that's it. Thank you, for reminding me of an important NPC I have to build for. Redacted. Oh, you're welcome. Didn't the French Republic ban communism? Yeah, right. So like they did, right? So like there's like really tense. There's a lot of tensions going on about how to do the resistance. Like, what does it mean to fight? And the Free French and the British were very, very hesitant to get help from the communists because they're like, well, if we build them up, what happens after the war? Like we don't, you know what I mean? So like, there's a lot of really interesting things, and I'm interested to see. Didn't the communists have their own resistance network before deciding to merge with the French? Yeah, but they actually weren't resisting in the beginning because they're like, right? Like they in the very beginning they didn't actually resist until the invasion of the Soviet Union. That's when they actually got involved, and then they got involved. But there was always tension. There was always tension because the West was doing a lot of the supplying, and they didn't really want to supply the communists, right? So there's like a lot of really interesting tensions, and the Northern French collaboration versus the Southern. Can't we just pretend Vichy didn't exist? Yeah. Therefore, why fight for France, you know? But after the Allies and the USSR are on the same side, it made sense. Right. And also, so there's going to be a lot. There's like a bunch of, there are some really interesting tensions that I don't get to do as much because Jules is no longer here, like the issue of Martinique and some of the French colonies. So that becomes really interesting. Like Algiers is really fascinating, but I could probably get Algeria in there. But anyway, there's some like things that I want to do in this season 2 that I think I can sort of build in that are about sort of like exploring some historical troubles and difficulties. But then some things are probably gonna have to wait to season 3 if we get a season 3. If people can do a season 3 and we want to do a season 3, then there's probably some things are gonna have to sort of wait just time-wise there, but I don't know. Like I don't know what the players are going to end up doing, so who knows what's going to happen. But the communists are here now, and there's some other things that are sort of running about. So I'm excited to see where we go. Would one of those groups be the Grand Mosque in Paris? iShield, that's also another thing, right? Because remember, Noor Nayat Khan is there, right? So like we've got some really interesting people, and I already brought in the White Comet line. Like, so I brought in some historical things, and I want to bring in some other wings because I really also want to emphasize, and this is part of actually, I don't know if you know this, like if you're not into French resistance history, this may not be a thing for you. But by the way, I'm going. I will see you. Yes, I'm going to get some food. Yeah, the U.S. wasn't keen. Yeah, no, it's true. I just want to say that one of the things iShield, and I want you to thank you for bringing that up, because one of the big movements in French resistance history, when you're looking at sort of like historians right now, is that, and this is like a new movement in the last, I don't know, 20 years maybe ish, is that for the longest time, resistance history was really white French dudes. They didn't really talk about the women or the non-white French people. There's like a bunch of people who were sort of, and also they didn't talk about communists, right? They did all these, they had the government, they had like French government people go and do interviews with resistance members. Like that was like where a lot of the early scholarship was, but they didn't actually talk to the communists. They didn't talk to women. They didn't talk to a lot of the ethnic and religious minorities, or non-French who were in France. And so a lot of the early resistance stuff is a very narrow view of the resistance. And that's where a lot of the history that we know about the French resistance has happened. And in the last 20, 30 years, there's been a really big move to try to act especially before people die, to try to find these people who have not been represented, but who were there and who were actually really, really important to the resistance, and trying to sort of basically bring back a lot of the people who were members who did a lot of this work, but whose stories had not been told. And so this kind of wanting to rethink about, review the diversity of the time period in the Resistance is also something that I'm thinking about when I do this game, which is also something I'm thinking about when I do history all the time. Like, France was very diverse. Like, France was very diverse in the 1930s and 40s. I mean, it was hard for those people, but it was a very diverse place. And the people who were resisting, and many times, let's be very honest, many times the people who were resisting the most were the people who were the most marginalized, because they had the most to lose. And so there were a lot of French Jews who were resisting, a lot of French Muslims who were resisting, Spanish members of like the Spanish Republicans who had to flee and were like, there was a lot of people who were involved in that movement. And it was a lot more diverse than we often remember. And so, like, part of what I want to do is to sort of bring in step by step. You can't do it all at once, so it's not too overwhelming, but bring in step by step this sort of work to make people aware of the fact that the Resistance was not, like, I don't know, just some like British upper class dude and like some French upper class dude, right? That it was actually it was actually a lot more. It was very sort of complicated, and I want that to be part of the show, and like you just sort of like bring it in, right, little piece by piece. Yes. I picked up some of the more esoteric stuff through history memes and stuff. Yeah, so interesting, right? The first Sea Lord who retired after the Falklands began on the Baltic convoys, which supplied the USSR in World War. Oh, that's so interesting. Time of gifts. Should we have to wait until most of the actual players are nearly dying to set the record? Yeah. Right? It's true. Write the true history of the time. Right, and that's the thing. I just think it's important to actually write a more nuanced history. I remember one of the early Medal of Honor games that focused on the Resistance cells led by women. Oh, that's so cool. I'm getting more history than what I got in high school and college. And, you know, I just feel like we have that, like, it's a kind of a responsibility. You know, like, I just feel like personally, everyone does what they want to do. Do what you want to do. But like, I feel like I personally, if I'm going to do this show, which I am, I feel like I have a responsibility to the people who were there in certain ways. It's still fiction. Like, we're doing fiction, you know what I mean? And that's going to mean certain things. But I feel like, especially in this moment, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this show is because we live in a moment that it has a rising ethno-nationalism. There are neo-Nazis everywhere. And I just think it's important to do this in a way to... I think there's importance. Like, I think that there's a responsibility, and that's part of what I wanted to do here. And it's the same with Night Witches, right? It's the same with Night Witches. So I've got to get some food. I'm going to get some food, and this is what's up, y'all. I'm going to go, but I will be back in a half hour to host Critical Role on my channel. If you want to watch it, you can sort of hang out. Ooh, we got a sub. What is Kiss? What is Kiss? The name game. Come on, everybody. I say, now let's play a game. I bet you I can make a rhyme out of anybody's name. The first letter of the name, I treat it like it wasn't there. And then a B or an F on M will appear. And then I say Bo at a B, then I say the name, then banana, fanner, and foe. And then I say the name again with an F, very plain, then a fee, fi, and a mo. And then I say the name again with an M this time, and there isn't any name that I can't rhyme. Okay, this is gonna be hard. What is Kiss? What is Kiss? What is Kiss? What is Kiss? Banana, fanner, foe, what is Kiss? Fee, fi, what is Kiss? What is Kiss? Yeah, thank you for that sub. Thank you so much, Nathan. Thank you so much. Yes, I do. History is even more important after today's White House announcement of the executive order to mandate proper American attitudes in schools. Yes, right. So many times, if we don't have the right history, it's bad for us. It's bad for us. So this is like this is part of my activism, right? This show is a form of activism for me, and it means something. So thank you, Nathan. I will. So if you want, you can find me tonight in a half hour hosting Critical Role. So you can chat in a chat that is not huge. You can find me tomorrow, which is Friday, By the way, I'm going to be working on getting up City of Light and Shadow tonight if I can get it. Tomorrow, which is Friday at 1 p.m., you can find me at Laugh Love Lindy's channel for Aether's Walkway, which is a cyberpunk game using Cypher System. At 7 p.m., episode 3 of City of Light and Shadow, which is our Tango solo episode, and we're going to see what happens with him. And then you can find me on Saturday at noon for here playing video games for Eastern, by the way, all this is Eastern time, for Outer Worlds. And I don't think... I just remember the night so many biological names showed up. Yes. 1 p.m. Eastern. 1 p.m. Eastern is Aether's Walkway. And that's... Oh, and then you can join our Discord, especially if you want to see a long conversation about the inner workings of Regina, and just kind of hang out with us. You can also follow me, Trooper SJP here, of course, and on YouTube, where the archive of all the shows are. And when I do my video blog, it'll be up there as well. You can find me at Academic Foxhole on Twitter, also Academic Foxhole on Patreon, and the Patreon goes to support paying the cast, basically, at the moment. It's offsetting cast costs. And hopefully we can maybe even get some character art for this season, and that could be like a cool thing as well. So that's it. Take care of yourselves. I will see you later. Thank you very much. You all are the best. And that's it. I'm going to catch you on the flip side, and I will catch you later. Go drink, take care of yourselves, and catch you on the flip side.